Before that, if you guys can do me a favor, just give a quick introduction of who you are, where people can find you, and what you do on your channel. Marte, first, please, sir.
My name is Marte Reyes, and I am the host, one and only host and producer of On the Edge, and also the host of Woke Autopsy with me and co-host Cool Vic. Also, you can find me as Mighty Marte on Twitter, and also the Real Mighty Mouse on Instagram. Stay tuned. I got more debates. Usually I don't have these tech problems. It's only in Discord. Just going to say that real quick. But thank you for having me on the panel. And thanks, Wick, for meeting me for this competent conflict. So that's all.
Awesome, man. Appreciate it. And then Wick, go ahead. Let people know where to find you and what you talk
Wick,
about.
You can find me on YouTube and Twitch, Wick TV. Not Twitch tonight because tomfoolery's banned, unfortunately. But yeah, find me on YouTube. I do debates. I do conversations. I do all sorts of things. That's me.
All right. Appreciate it. Okay. So we're going to do opening statements. The question is Trump's ICE a net benefit for America or a net negative for America? So we're going to let Wick go first with why ICE under Trump is a net negative. Wick, up to 4 minutes, please, sir.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you for being here, Marte. Thank you for hosting Tomfoolery. One of the bedrock principles of America is a belief in due process. When we rebelled against England, one of the driving factors behind that was the Crown's abuse of Americans through the courts and denying us proper due process. In order to ensure this would never happen again, we built protections into the Constitution to protect everyone in America from similar abuses. Today, under Trump, ICE is violating people's constitutionally protected rights, not only those of immigrants, but also those of citizens. People are being detained wrongfully, released after being apprehended for exercising their First Amendment protected rights to record ICE agents and report on their whereabouts and activities. They also are violating the Fourth Amendment, with whistleblower reports indicating that ICE leadership officials are instructing their officers to break into homes without a judicial warrant. These protections are fundamental to America. Without them, we are all worse off. When ICE violates them and nothing is done, we are all at risk. My rights are more important than people's fears of immigrants, and no amount of deportations are worth the erosion of our American liberties or civil values. The liberties and values that we have made us the greatest nation on earth today. I do not wish to live in a world where the DHS can subpoena my Google email records and send FBI agents to my house when I criticize Trump and his policies. Unless you think I am being hyperbolic or fear-mongering, this has happened and continues to happen as a matter of policy under the Trump administration. A gentleman wrote an email to a judge asking for mercy for an asylum seeker, and not 5 hours later, the feds were combing his emails and sending agents to his door. This is to say nothing of the economic issues being caused, nor the continuing decline of trust in our institutions, made significantly worse because DHS is lying to the public and to the courts constantly. DHS and ICE under Trump has made us all worse off. Our civil liberties are under threat in a way that I have not seen before in my lifetime. They are not enforcing the law. They are breaking it. So I say, on behalf of America, its values, and its people, fuck ICE.
All right. Thank you, Wick. And then Marte, opening statement, please, sir. Why Trump is a net positive for America. You have 4 minutes.
I thought the prompt was ICE under Trump was a net negative. That's what the prompt was, right?
Yes, correct.
You had said
why
Trump.
It is not a net negative.
You said Trump was a net positive for America. Just clearing that up.
ICE under Trump.
Okay, I didn't hear that part. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that there's clarity here before we proceed. So, ladies and gentlemen, wake up and smash the outright lie that ICE under Trump is a net negative. It's the iron-fisted savior of America crafted after the gutless, border-bleeding disasters of Obama and Biden. Trump didn't babysit invaders. He obliterated threats, exploding arrests to a blistering 393,000 to 595,000 in his second term's first year alone, pulverizing Biden's laughable dribble by quadrupling daily takedowns. That's brutal. What my opponent here is talking about is painting us like the Escapo, saying that emails are going to be looked at. There's going to be no ultimate transparency to the point to where it's overcorrection. That's not what even the debate is about. Literally talking about immigration customs enforcement. He's going to some overarching principle that there's some secret state, whatever he's alluding to. That's not what the debate's about. Back to this. While Biden straight up betrayed us, gutting criminal deportations by 74% and arrests by 66%, as his open border nightmare unleashed 8 million illegal floods. Yes, floods. Trump hammered home 675,000 deportations plus 2.2 million cowardly self-exiles in year one, crushing border apprehensions to rock bottom lows, proving raw power saves American lives, lock down streets, and crushes the anarchy spineless cowards like they begged for. The net positive, you'd say, Wick, a fortified, unbreakable America. In America, Wick, here will tell you to go defend while he sits comfortably on his lazy boy. Wick will also tell you, fuck ICE in his opening statement. Well, hold on. Are we defending these PDF aisles that ICE had came over to take out of the country? Apparently, that's what he's doing. He would rather have these people and criminals in the country than ICE deport them and get them out because police don't have the jurisdiction and they can't do it themselves. Anyways, I'm anxious to get forward into this argument and see what his arguments are, because I'm anxious to get into this whole debate. Let's continue to proceed. I am there.
All right. Appreciate it. All right. So, Wick, why do you disagree with what it is that he just said?
So I guess you can cite all the deportation numbers you'd like, and Trump could deport millions of people. That does not matter if in the process of doing it, he makes everything worse. If our First Amendment rights and our Fourth Amendment rights and our Eighth Amendment rights are eroded in the process of getting rid of illegal immigrants, then I think that we are worse off, because we can deport whoever we like, but those erosions will always remain. We live in a system where precedent governs how we do things. And when you set precedent that the executive by fiat can simply ignore the courts and also override the Constitution that we have in place, the Bill of Rights, to protect us from the government, it puts us all in danger. I'm not here saying don't deport anyone. I'm not here defending illegal immigrants. I'm defending your rights, my rights, everyone's rights. Deport all the illegals that you want, and you can. You just have to do it properly. And Trump is not.
Yeah, you made a lot of assertions, empty assertions. You're saying, just trust me, bro, is not a source. I'm not going to buy that.
Plenty of examples for each.
Yeah, we can go into that, and I'm anxious to actually dive into these examples that you have. I'm just going to say this. Isn't it embarrassing that you call real enforcement negative while ignoring that Trump's ICE quadrupled daily arrests? These are criminals that we're talking about, which go in conjunction with the deportations that we have. Hunted criminals in communities, which this is more targeted than the last two administrations that we've had, and made America safer, while your side let predators walk free. That's crazy. How do you reconcile this?
So one of the things that Trump's ICE is doing is that it's allowing people, pedophiles, thieves, and things, instead of going to jail, or if they are in jail, they will release them from jail early and they'll deport them. Okay. Do you support pedophiles being released from jail before they have served their sentence?
I support anybody being deported if that's the ultimate action that's going to happen.
You would let a pedophile,
if they weren't documented, I support
early,
the deportation
after they
of these
serve,
people.
Say a year in jail. ICE comes, says, hey, this guy's here in the country illegally. We need to deport him. So they take him out of jail. They put him on a plane. They send him to his home country.
Yeah.
Just let him free.
Their problem, not ours.
That is wild to me. I want pedophiles to serve their time in jail. All of it. Because I don't want them released early.
You want them to siphon our tax dollars in jail and us to house and shelter them and control and custody when they could do that in their own damn country. No, we're actually getting rid of the problem and not babysitting it. I think that's a more viable solution and better for the country. These are your tax dollars, right? The longer they stay, the more we have to pay for it. Do you understand how long and how much it takes to house an inmate in a prison?
I think that the costs are worth it to keep pedophiles off the street.
$32,000 a year is worth it when we can get rid of the problem altogether, thus saving taxpayers thousands of dollars, and also reducing increasing officer safety, because that's one less person that's going to grape somebody on the yard. That's also this too. Yes.
But it's one more person who will be on the streets of their home country preying on children there. I don't want to release pedophiles anywhere. I would like them to be in jail for as long as we can keep them there.
This logic makes no sense.
That you're arguing to release pedophiles early.
Well, that's a weird
argument.
Does every PDF aisle have a release date?
Some are in there for life, I'm assuming.
Most of them aren't in there for life unless they've murdered somebody. So that's the case in point. Matter of fact, every PDF aisle that you have has a release date. And matter of fact, in America, it's like 7 years is the average, which means they're going to be released in 7 years after using all of our tax money and everything else, only to be deported. The end result that I alluded to, only we're going to save money and do the same thing we would have did in the interim in the end anyways. Your example doesn't make any sense.
We charge someone with a crime and we serve them a sentence, and it behooves us to force them to serve their entire sentence. I don't want them released early, even if it's not into American streets. I want to protect the kids in
it's not
Guatemala. I want to protect the kids in Venezuela. I want to protect the kids in Uganda. I don't want pedophiles on their streets. So here's the thing: I don't want to release them early. But this is almost beside the point. And I just it boggled my mind. If I may finish just real quick, it boggled my mind that you're arguing for releasing pedophiles before they've served their time. That's an argument you can make. But are you okay with ICE agents breaking into homes without judicial warrants?
Yeah, that's another empty assumption you're making right now. While there may be stark coincidences and stark cases that this happened, it's not the overwhelming case. Matter of fact, in Obama's administration, we have 56 deaths, more than Trump's ever had at ICE's hand. Now let's get back to the extradite.
No, that's not true.
Criminals. It is true.
2025, there were, I believe, 73 deaths in ICE custody. That is the most that they've ever had. And that's 2025.
Okay, we can cite this, but 37 of them were justified automatically, and the others were questionable. We can say that, but if you're citing justified deaths, that doesn't move the needle in this argument. Let's get back to extraditing criminals.
Hold on, no. Now I'm correcting something that you said, where you said
that
56
I can
people
accept
died
that.
under ICE under Obama. I'm just showing you how
there are lawful deaths that happen when we're chasing criminals. Now, if Trump is doing a really good job and we're apprehending criminals, don't you think in the arrest there's going to be a rise of prominent deaths that happen that are justified? Right. You omit the chat. Matter of fact, if you pay attention to this, notice how he omits the fact that 37 of these deaths were definitely justified. The other parts of the deaths, we can say are questionable, but definitely justified. And all these officers were cleared after these investigations. So now that that's debunked and we can move on for that, we can talk about extraditing criminals from the nation.
This is important. When you say that these ICE agents aren't being held accountable, that they're being let off,
they are being held accountable.
One of the issues that we're having, and that I have with ICE, and that goes to my argument of why everything's worse right now because of ICE, is that these officers are not being held accountable for their bad actions. I'll give you one example.
Yeah, right? I'd love to hear it. You've said all this in no example.
Well, let me give you the example, and I can give it to you.
Go ahead.
Under Chicago, during the Midway Blitz, when Trump sent all those ICE officers to Chicago, much like they have in Minneapolis, they shot a woman 5 times. Okay. The guy who did it, right, they said that she rammed their car into them, and so they charged her. She survived, thankfully, and they charged her, right, with endangering the lives of ICE agents and things like that. Turns out, though, when the body cam footage was released, that ICE had lied, that DHS had lied, so they had to drop the case. And then the officer who did it, the officer who lied, the officer who rammed her and then shot her 5 times and then texted it after that, 5 bullets, 7 holes. Put that one in your books, boys. He is still serving on the force. Nothing happened to him.
So, Wick, I'll ask you a question.
How can we trust an organization that doesn't hold its agents who violate the law accountable?
Wick, can I ask you a question? What does the prompt say? What's the prompt for this debate? Just want to ask.
The prompt is Trump ICE under Trump, ICE under Trump is a net negative for America. Net positive. I'm taking.
Oh, okay. Hold on real quick. So if we're talking about a net negative, it's okay to point out one case example, maybe even a few anecdotes or things like this, but we're talking about totality. In totality,
yes.
No. Even if you point out one case,
this is a pattern of behavior.
Hold on real quick. Just pointing out one doesn't exhibit a whole totality of ICE bad or negative. Matter of fact, this would even be a worse debate if I even said this for Biden or Obama. We wouldn't say it's a net negative. That's an asinine statement to make because ICE is just a tool at the behest of somebody who's head part of the administration. I don't even think that I can even argue it's a net negative under Obama or Biden. Matter of fact, I think they've done more positive than not positive. Even under both administrations, I'll even concede that. So I don't.
Do you think that
I don't see how you can see how it's a net negative.
Well, let me ask a question real quick. Let me ask you a question real quick, Marte. If he was to make the case that it was a net negative, how would he do that then?
He would have to say that not only this, but there's some collusion, meaning like some overarching premise, and then show me numbers. Like there's two ways we can go about this. He can show me numbers saying that there are probably there's more damage happening as a result of ICE than deportations, than arrests, than maybe the lawful pursuit of their duties ending in succession of maybe some success that they've had. He'd have to demonstrate that somehow. But you see how improbable this prompt is for him to win?
Just real quick. There's a pattern, my argument, and I think that there's plenty of data for this, we can go through it, is that ICE as policy has exhibited a pattern of behavior where they violate people's constitutional rights, they lose their court cases. Remember, in the Midway Blitz, the conviction rate they have, well, let me just ask you, what do you think the amount of people who in Chicago were arrested for like obstructing ICE or something like that? They made about 32, they made a bunch of arrests, but they made 32 cases went to court. How many of those do you think resulted in a conviction? Just give me a guess.
So you're talking about the arrests that have happened.
Yeah, they arrested a guy who they accused of, there's various crimes right here, but most of them were like obstructing ICE. Like they were getting in the way of the ICE. They were threatening ICE officers. They were resisting arrest, things like that. There's 32 cases that went to court. How many resulted in conviction? What would you guess? Just to let you know, the federal overall rate for these things is about 90% conviction rates.
I can answer that. So if we have an active investigation, such as like Operation Metro Surge, where a woman drove all the way from Missouri down to here for some reason, which is odd enough to park her car in the middle of a street and do all this.
For what your guess is on a conviction rate. They've taken 32 cases to court in Operation Midway Blitz. So how many of them resulted in a conviction? So
I would say a high number of conviction because when HSI does anything as far as
would
like
it surprise you to know
we have to have a solid case
current
to even
conviction rate
it has to be open and shut
is 0%. Would it surprise you to know that DHS and the cases that they have brought in Midway Blitz that have finished, about 16 out of the 32 have finished? Would it surprise you to know that 0%, none of them, not a single one, has resulted in a conviction because ICE and DHS are so incompetent at their jobs that they can't even arrest a single obstructor?
So hold on. That's a fallacy.
You think that is good overall for the justice system in America?
Do you understand that? Do you understand that sometimes it's really not worth the paperwork? And I can break this down to you. So if I've ever busted in the street when I was in law enforcement and the crime was like less than $100, we just let them go because it's not even worth the paperwork. It's not worth the time. It's not worth the court fees or any of this other stuff.
Let it go. I'm not talking about the ones that they let go. I'm talking the ones that they bring up to the court in charges.
Hold on.
The prosecutors bring to trial.
Doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. Even if we do stop somebody and we apprehend them,
because
it has to be a deterrent to some degree by stopping them and showing the public as a show of force to say, hey, we can't allow that here. Even if we demonstrate that, even if there's no conviction, it's good to stop somebody, move them out of the way so we can proceed with an investigation. In fact, if we're there during Operation Metro Surge and getting somebody who violated a 14-year-old, why would anybody impede that and stop that? Oh, yeah, that's right, because you guys are obstructionists, not protesters. Let's get the facts straight on that.
Lying. about all of these things. DHS has a pattern of lying not only to the American public.
You
but
haven't
to the
shown a
courts.
pattern. You
And
showed
evidence-
one case study,
What the
one
evidence
case result.
is I have of this, and I have many, is that they have a 0% conviction rate in Midway Blitz. Do you know why? It's because the cases either get thrown out or they are found to have lied.
If we have a 0% conviction rate for people who are legal citizens, that doesn't move the argument in your favor, because we're talking about ICE's purpose is to get illegal citizens off the streets and have conviction rates for illegal citizens. I don't care about legal stuff. What we're doing is a stopgap. If we take them off the street temporarily and don't convict them, I don't even care, because that doesn't even make your case. We're talking about their purpose is for getting illegal citizens and even criminals off the street. Are they not doing that?
They're not doing it properly.
They are doing
They
it.
are violating
They're
people's
doing it.
constitutional
Yes.
rights when they do that.
So your argument is I'm going to bring up legal citizens, which has nothing to do with ICE's purpose at all, to say that, hey, they're not doing their job. That's not their job.
That's a great point.
That's not their job, Wick.
Detaining these legal citizens, should they? And yet they are. And yet, in Trump's second term, in 2025, they have wrongfully arrested, and these are just the ones deemed wrongfully arrested or detained over 170 American citizens. That is far too much.
Yeah, sure. You'll see even one is far too many, but I think it's good if it can remove the temporary obstruction off the street so we can continue our investigation after the real criminals and real illegal immigrants. I think it's a stopgap solution, and I support it 100%.
Look, under Trump, the amount of ICE arrests involving violent criminals is only 14%.
You mean Trump's administration that barely just got off the ground with ICE?
Accused or convicted of a violent crime.
How long has Trump been in office in this administration as opposed to Biden's last in totality? Right, so we're just starting again. So we haven't seen the end result of his deportations and criminal arrest, right? Correct.
We don't need to see the end result.
Oh, so you're only going to get 4 months worth of data and say that's a totality?
Bad.
So 4 months worth of data is just the whole totality of everything he's ever done.
It's not just 4 months of worth of data. We've had a year's worth of data at this point.
Well, hold on. I'm just saying this right now. So you're only going to get this amount of data and compare it to the whole administration term of the president before us.
I'm comparing ICE's actions with what they are legally allowed to do, and they are breaking the law, sir. My, again, argument is that they are eroding our civil liberties by violating our First Amendment rights and Fourth Amendment rights, and that is making America a worse place overall, not just for immigrants, but for everyone. That is the thrust of my argument, sir.
Let's kind of slow this down a bit real quick, because you cite one case.
Go as slow as you need.
You cite one case where a person says he shot somebody, body cam proved this wrong, and then you're citing that there's a pattern when you cite one incident where we can go down the other incidents, but in totality as a net negative. Right now, you have yet to move the needle on net negative. If overwhelmingly the deportations are up, the criminal arrests are up, even if it's a less than significant amount, 40%, they're still doing a grandiose job right now, and the year's not even up yet. We're just beginning started with ICE and their amazing job that they're doing right now, because right now when you say net negative, we're talking about totality. I'm not seeing that right now when you're citing cases. The fact that, and here's, I'm going to tie this up real quick. If you can cite 7 cases, the reason why these 7 cases stand out is because of the rarity and circumference to the totality of the good that ICE is doing in general. Right.
Okay. So the problem with your line of thinking is that I am not willing, just because they can get high numbers, to erode our civil liberties. Yes, it turns out when you don't need a warrant to break into people's homes, you can get a little bit more arrests. But there is a very good reason why we have rules and regulations in place and laws and constitutional rights to protect us against the government for doing these things. It is meant to be hard for the government to break into your home. They are meant to go through hoops in order to do that. And when we remove these protections, it allows the government to abuse us. And I think that that is a worse America to live. Here, I'll do this.
I'd love to see this breaking into homes
let me
without a
finish
warrant.
real quick. Hold on. Let me finish.
Can you demonstrate that? Because that's an assertion you just made. We're breaking into homes without warrants.
Yes. Again, there was a whistleblower report just a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago, where ICE, and I mentioned this earlier, ICE circulated amongst its members a memo. Okay, it was a secret memo. They hid it from the public. They hid it from.
Can I see that? I'd love
investigators
to see that.
and things like that. I can
Do you have it?
bring you the whistleblower report if you'd like.
Yeah, I'd love
but
to see that
basically
right
what
now
they were
because these are
saying,
just empty
what they were
assertions you're
circulating.
making
Let me
right
finish.
now.
Go ahead. Wick, finish real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
What they were circulating, because I'm answering your question, right? What they were circulating was a report and a memo basically that said you don't need a judicial warrant to break into people's homes. You can just do it. They were using administrative warrants to do it, which what an administrative warrant is it's a warrant, quote unquote, that another ICE agent signs. It bypasses the judicial process altogether. It is illegal, right, to break into people's homes using just an administrative warrant. It is against the Fourth Amendment. And they were telling their agents that they had this ability to do it, but they did not have the ability to do it. And so this has been a common practice that the ICE agents have been engaged in, not just in Minnesota, but across the country, where they've been breaking into private residences, businesses, apartment buildings without a warrant. And when the people asked to see a judicial warrant, they are said, we don't have to show you this. There are plenty of examples of this. Again, it's a pattern of behavior. It's a policy that they are engaged in that is,
let's get straight to the point.
Just violating people's Fourth Amendment rights.
Let's cut through the bullshit. I'll ask you a question real quick. Can you have civil liberties if you don't enforce them?
No, that's why
you can't have civil liberties unless you enforce them.
No,
oftentimes
that's a great question.
Not the case.
Hold on, let's dwell. Hold on, let's dwell on that question for a moment. Right? Yes, you have to enforce civil liberties.
There has to be enforcement. Otherwise, civil liberties do not exist.
When this administration does not enforce our civil liberties, it's like we don't have them. When the government is able to just violate our civil liberties with no repercussions, which is what ICE is doing.
Hold on, Vic. Hold on,
It is
Vic.
like we don't have them. Do you want to live in America
the
without
civil liberties of PDF files that are illegal? Do they have the same civil liberties as somebody legal?
Civil liberties are for everyone.
Hold on, real quick. So
yeah,
legal liberties have.
Wait. Hold on. Wait, Marte, because like we are everybody that we're talking about are going to be criminals in some way, even if they're here illegally. They're going to be criminals in some way. But the Constitution and the way that the law is set up in our country does set it up to where we would want civil liberties for people, or like even due process for people who commit the most heinous crimes. Right? You agree with that? Yes.
I agree with that to some extent. However, there has to be a caveat and some gray area for immediacy when it comes to certain circumstances, when we have PDFs that are violating 13 and 14-year-olds and actually murdering. Matter of fact, one of them during Operation Metro Surge was an active, I would say this guy had murdered somebody. And for us to apprehend him, guess what's going to happen? Sometimes in law enforcement, blind eyes have been turned. But if we're going to fight these people and take them off the streets and they do not legally belong here, I would say that sometimes these things are going to happen. I'm not justifying this as a whole. I'm just saying,
well, to be clear, hold on. Marte, you were giving examples earlier of people who were in prison and they're like getting them out of prison. And in those cases, that would make sense. But when we're talking about people who are not already locked up, where do you think where is it that we would degrade one's civil liberties for somebody who is not currently incarcerated?
So would you believe that in lieu of carceration, like let's say in approaching somebody, are we en route to take away a lot of their rights in apprehending the person? That's the purpose of us apprehending them. So that way they can have a reduction of rights in our control and care and custody of this person, so that we can do whatever we need to. There's going to be a little bit of gray area, but however, the law is very black and white on this. There are going to be civil liberties, like you can't shoot somebody in the back for no reason. You can't shoot somebody in the face for no reason. You can't take somebody's life away for no reason. There has to be justification. That's why there's use of force boards, Wick. By the way, back to this. There are investigations where these officers have been cleared. Now, although you can say things like, DHS, we had a director. Her name was Linda, matter of fact, and she came from DEA. She was outsourced from HSI. And matter of fact, to get in here, we have third-party people representation that come in and do these internal use of force boards when they come in. And it's like the seven-headed dragons looking at you, so it gets clear. So when you say things like they're not investigated, they always are. Use of force allegations are
not.
always investigated.
I think that the DHS is lying to you.
No, they're not lying. I've literally been in these.
They
but
are
we
lying.
don't even have to go
Well,
by
let me just ask
what
you,
I'm saying.
Do you think that DHS was being honest when they said that Alex Preddy was intending to massacre cops?
You mean a guy that carried 2 magazines?
So
and
this is what I'm just going to read you the post that they made.
The guy who
when
kicked
Alex
out
Preddy was
taillights?
shot, and I'm just going to read this portion. Right?
Well, I don't
guy
know
who
if we
was
need to read the
unstable-
post. I think we all know the what it is that they said. But Marte, when you say the guy who carried 2 magazines, do
No,
you believe
it's
that was why
lawful
he
for
carried 2
him to
magazines?
do
Is
this,
he
but
wanted to?
But hold on, Tom. We have to be able to build a case here. Now, the guy's mom
No, I'm
said
hold
that
on.
he was
stop.
unstable.
You haven't answered my
He
question.
quit his
and
job.
you
His
didn't
job
answer my
wouldn't even
question.
Yeah,
let him go.
we're-
Yes or no question.
He was so
Please,
mentally
please.
unstable.
Wait, yeah,
he had to leave
Marte,
his job.
Marte, hold on.
Was
Marte,
DHS
hold on. It is that we would want you to answer the question before you build a case.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
would
go-
want
go
to
ahead.
make
DH
the
when-
statement
hold on, just
first.
let me ask the question again so people can remember. When DHS said that Alex Preddy was intended to do maximum damage and massacre law enforcement, were they being honest?
I can't confirm or deny that. We'll never know because he got shot.
What evidence would suggest that he was intending to do maximum damage and massacre law enforcement?
Okay, we can build a case on this by saying that the guy was terminated from his job because of mental instability. His mom even told him, I wouldn't do this if I were you. That's a bad decision. And then not to mention this, he showed erratic behavior before this, kicking the tail light of a car out. Erratic behavior, mind you. And this guy didn't even carry a license when he brought his gun. Whenever you have your gun with you, you're supposed to have a license or some identifier. Didn't even have, the guy was just all over the place. So the erratic behavior leading up to this showed that there's some instability that no normal citizen would ever exhibit leading up to this. Would you not agree that?
Okay, I don't normally do this, but just to be clear, there was an article that came out that said that he was fired from his job, he was mentally unstable, that he had been inappropriate with patients. His parents said that he was acting erratically. That was a fake article. It was
I didn't get it from
a fabricated.
His
article.
mom had said
he was
this.
currently employed.
This is from his
no,
mom.
No, is it he was currently employed? He was currently employed with the nursing home still, with the VA nursing home still when
the VA had came out and said this, and also his mom had collaborated stories on this as well too. Why would his
that's also a lie, by the way?
Also, his mom.
I'm telling you,
hold on, wait, hold on. Let's get this straight.
Both of DHS's statement here
Wick,
and that article
hold
that
on.
you just cited were lies.
No, hold on, Wick.
You're basing your arguments on things that are not true.
No, hold on. Why would his job and his mom lie? You're saying his mom and his job lie?
Okay, his mom and his job didn't say that. Someone claimed that his mom and his job said
there's a
that,
statement
but they
from
were
his
lying.
mom. We can bring it up if you want.
Bring it up.
It would probably be best to pull it up.
Yeah.
Because if we're going to
Share your
use this
screen
as
and
a
follow.
claim for him being unstable and possibly going to do maximum
But as
damage,
he's
that would
bringing
be,
it up,
if that's part of
we
your
can
case.
even
that you're
look at the
building.
thing that actually happened where he did kick out a taillight. It's interesting, during that altercation, he had a gun on him, right? If he was intending to massacre law enforcement, he would have done it there. But he
Hold
didn't.
on, though. Well, if you are going
He
to
also
commit a
had his gun
crime-
on. Let me finish. He also had his gun
Well,
on him
I don't
during
want to
the
make
incident.
another argument while he's looking this up. I do want to allow him to find it.
If you are
before
going to
we,
commit a crime,
go down another line.
I think even the most loony bin people wouldn't tell you what they're going to do before they do it.
Sure, go ahead and find that. For anybody who wants to ask questions, you guys can send donations in my chat through the tips link, or if you guys send them to either Wick or Marte as well through their channels, send them super chats and support their channels as well. They can send them over to me, and we'll get those questions asked later towards the end as well.
And you can ask me questions as you want, right? As you get them in. But DHS has a pattern of lying, and they lie constantly, and they lie in ways that the public can see that they're lying. This is why public perception.
You haven't
and public
demonstrated that
support for
yet.
ICE has gone
One
off the
case
cliff.
does not demonstrate a pattern.
I think he's just restating his position while we're waiting for you
Yes.
to find this.
And it's not just one case. I can only give you one example at a time, but I can give you consistent examples over large periods of time where they do this.
What does
For
what does
example,
net
Another
negative?
shooting that happened in Minnesota.
What's the
was
definition
a
of
bunch
net
of
negative?
they claimed that officer shot a man who was busy beating him with a shovel. But it turns out when the FBI affidavit came out, it turns out that they shot him when he was running away. DHS lied again. DHS constantly lies. They lied about the Renee Good shooting. They said in their initial statement that a violent rioter weaponized her vehicle, attempting to run over law enforcement officers in an attempt to kill them. But when we reviewed the video, it's clear that she wasn't intending to kill him at all, and instead was turning away from him. The evidence in every single case, again, contradicts what DHS says. And this isn't just in the courts of public opinion, it's in actual courts. Their cases get thrown out by judges because DHS is lying.
No,
right? And this
cases don't get
happens
thrown
all
out because
the
people are
time.
lying. Cases get thrown out because of time and money. That's the main reason why cases get thrown out, not because of
Not
lying.
in this case.
No, you
Not in
haven't
the
even
case of
demonstrated
DHS.
that.
Under
You haven't
Trump.
even demonstrated that. Matter of fact, that's the reason
Okay,
why a lot of
hey,
people get
see,
let off.
yes,
Judges
that is
have
part of the
said
debate. But
this.
again, hold on. We need Marte. If you are you looking for the source?
Yes,
currently? 'Cause
actively doing that. And
I did.
multitasking.
I do
is what
have
we're
a couple of fact checks here who do say that it's incorrect and that the family did come out making statements otherwise. But
I did have something bookmarked. Looking for that right now. It's a specific bookmark.
Okay. DHS, right, goes before the court, and they have habeas petitions levied against them by people who have been detained, who think that they don't deserve to be detained, that they're being detained improperly. And so they bring these habeas petitions before the court. The court awards, right? They grant the habeas petition. They say this person has been detained illegally or improperly and needs to be released. DHS delays their release by weeks in certain cases, and in other cases, they'll simply ignore the court. And this is a
okay,
problem.
real quick.
that-
I'll just read this so that he can hear it. I have fact checks from numerous sources. This is from a Google overview. It says reports suggesting that the family of Alex Preddy stated that he was unstable or that he was fired from the VA are false and fabricated, originating from spam or fringe websites. Family denounces the lies. Alex Preddy's family has publicly denounced statements from the administration and others as sickening lies and reprehensible and disgusting, emphasizing that he was a good man. The employment status was that Preddy was employed as an intensive care registered nurse at the Minneapolis Veterans Affairs Medical Center at the time of his death. He was not fired for misconduct.
Hold on real quick. So I have the exact statement. I'm just looking for the source on this.
Well, do you deny
Because
that
I know
that
I-
fact check's true, man?
No, I did. I just don't know where the bookmark went because my computer's on the fritz. My audio had went out, and I had deleted a bunch of stuff trying to get on the stream with you today on this debate. So give me 1 second. I know that. So the statement was like this, and it came from his mom. She had said, we had this discussion with him 2 weeks ago or so. You can go ahead and protest, but don't do anything stupid. Like already her mom's telling her, instructing.
Did you not hear what Tom just read?
Yeah, I heard what Tom just said.
The statement that he just made is a different statement, saying that she just told him not to do anything stupid at the protest. Very different from whether or not he was unstable, which I believe was the claim.
Oh, so hold on. If we're going to piece together a case of a guy kicking out taillights, spitting on cops, and jumping in front of people in the middle of an investigation, do you also, even if we omit that, like let's say we omit that because I don't know where the bookmark went, but let's get back to this. I'm anxious to get back to this. Even if we omit this, Tom, and none of that happened, do you think that him spitting on cops or agents and then kicking out taillights and then his mom basically saying, well, don't do anything stupid in the lead up to this, and then bring an active firearm to a really heated scenario. Do you think that's pretty stable, normative for people who
Well,
protest?
that's why
Is that-
I think Wick brought up the same argument earlier, saying that he had been in a scenario 11 days before this, and that he was also attacked by cops in that scenario, also had the
and
firearm
he
on
didn't
him,
shoot
and in
anyone.
that scenario didn't shoot anybody, didn't hurt anybody, and they ended up getting up and leaving him and walking away. And so he's saying that in this scenario, yes, he may act erratically, he may hit cars and things like that, but there wasn't any evidence to say that he would have done maximal damage
there's-
as
In
DHS
fact,
had
there's
said.
evidence that he did not intend to do that. For if he had the means, but he forbore from doing so. And so, again, Homeland Security in this instance and in many others lied to the American public. Do you at least concede that?
Say that again, because my audio had kind of went out.
Sure. In this instance, when DHS said that he intended to do maximum damage and massacre law enforcement, they lied to the American public. You can see that that's a lie.
No, I mean, I can't even engage with that and say that it's a lie, because he did
If you
do.
can't engage to say
he-
that that's a
hold
lie,
on, hold
can
on.
you admit that the sky is blue?
We lost your audio.
We lost your audio, buddy.
We lost Marte. Marte, we lost your audio. Your mic's out.
Wonderful. This is the competency of ICE, gang. Oh, well, say again?
We heard you for a second. You're cutting in and out a little bit. Try one more time. Give
little
me a
bit.
full sentence. It seems
testing,
better. Okay,
testing,
go ahead
1
and
2
try.
1 2.
Yeah, go ahead and make your argument or give your response again.
Yeah, go ahead, Wick. You were saying something.
I'm
No,
asking.
Marte, you were the
Yeah,
one who
you were
was
trying to respond to me,
saying
but I
something.
didn't.
I
hear
really
you.
hate these technical difficulties that I'm having. Literally, it just erased a bunch of shit from my computer. My audio's fucking up. So I apologize for the tech issues on my end. This normally doesn't happen. So
If you want Wick to repeat his argument, he can.
yeah, go ahead, Wick.
Sure. My argument overall is that DHS has a pattern of lying. I gave you one example. We can go through more where they lie to the public, they lie to the courts, they disobey the courts. They're found in contempt of court. This is not an organization that has the best will of the people in mind, and you can't trust anything that they say or do because they have continuously shown that they are willing to ignore the courts and that they're willing to lie to the American public.
I mean,
And this erodes, to tie it
no.
into my overall argument, is this erodes trust in institutions, making America a worse place overall.
This is a case of like one bad apple spoiling everything, and that you're trying to make, which is a faulty argument.
You keep saying one
like-
bad apple, but I keep giving you multiple
So,
examples.
No, you gave one example, and the Alex Preddy example is not even a good example because we can get into another debate.
I gave
which
you
that would
Alex
be a whole
Preddy.
different
I
debate.
gave you
That
Renee
would be a
Good.
whole different
I
debate.
gave
The
you
Alex Preddy
the evidence,
justification.
the example of them shooting that guy that was beating him with a shovel, and where they lied about that. I gave you 3.
No, you're just okay. Trust me, bro, is not a source. Once again, I haven't seen one source. I try to actually look for mine. I have plausible. I mean,
I can pull up these tweets. I can send them to Tom.
No, I
Fuller
don't
to
want
pull up
tweets.
if you'd like.
Hold on,
I don't want
hold on,
tweets, I
wait,
want
hold on.
facts.
Marte, hold on, wait, Marte. What of what he stated when you're asking for sources? What is it of what he said? What is it that you would like him to source?
Okay, I don't want like tweet because anybody can just put up a tweet. I want like fact-finding outcomes. Like, let's say that there was an investigation, and I want from like the Department of Justice, some bureau, basically stating that, hey, you know what? It went through these proper channels, and yeah, in fact, ICE was lying about this. Not a
So you
tweet
want-
from a random 16-year-old or anything like that.
Okay, I'm talking about would a tweet from DHS Gov be okay?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Department of
DHS.gov.
Homeland Security.
He said, "Sure."
Oh, okay. Here's the one where they lie about Alex Preddy, and I'll just DM it to you. Give it a second. Hold on, let me bring up my Discord.
So, Wick, I'll even ask you a question. If ICE didn't exist,
There.
who would apprehend the PDF aisles and extradite
INS.
them out of the country?
The ICE is a relatively new organization. It was founded in 2003.
That
The
doesn't
people who
answer
did
the
it
question.
before were the
If
INS.
ICE didn't exist,
That's
who would do
it
this
again.
duty?
Hold on. Clinton deported 12.5 million people. They were pretty fucking effective.
He said INS.
INS.
So, okay, so you think that we should replace ICE with INS?
At this point, yeah.
Okay, so let's say we eliminate
Okay,
ICE. Let's say
do you
we
want me to
eliminate
read
ICE.
the tweet from DHS?
That's up to him. He wanted a source on what the DHS was saying. I gave him one.
Yeah, let's go. Go ahead. Show me the source.
Okay. All right. So the
You
tweet
just share your
says,
screen so we can all read it, right? If you want.
okay. Go ahead and make your argument, Marte. It'll take me a second to
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so
to
when
pull
you're
that up.
talking about like net negative, I'm still looking for a totality here, not some sparse cases that you're bringing up. Because the whole reason why I asked if ICE was off the board, you said NIS would be doing this, right? Now, if
Yeah.
ICE is now that ICE is doing this, they're ramping up these deportations and quite successful at this, and we're doing targeted investigations. That's being done, and I think that that's a great thing. You haven't disproved that. Actually, you conceded that point to me when you're saying, okay, because of maybe 7 cases where it's fraught with rife with abuse, maybe in 7 cases, this isn't one state. This is 7 in totality that you brought up, maybe. And I'm being generous and charitable by saying 7 cases in the whole totality of the United States where ICE operates, because they operate in just jurisdiction Florida to California and everywhere in the Northern Hemisphere. That in the totality, they're in net negative. I haven't seen a strong case where I'm seeing where ICE should be taken off the map because they're net negative yet.
Okay, I just sent Tom Foolery a report from who is it, Senator Ossoff, of over 1,000 cases, and this is just in Trump's first term, first year, 2025, right? This is just 2025, 2026, because January, right? And this is just in detention centers. That's
Okay,
over
let's
1,000.
touch on this
Is
one.
that enough?
Yeah,
First,
that
you guys have
doesn't
you guys
say
have the share
anything to
screen
your
up?
point.
What do you
You
mean?
guys have the share screen up? Hold on, wait. Let's do one thing at a time. Do you
thing
guys
at
have the
a
share screen up?
I do. Go ahead.
Marte?
Share screen. Yeah, I mean, I see the Homeland Security thing, but this post doesn't say that they lied.
Okay, so
This
hold on.
is the
so
lie.
It says so it says this is from Homeland Security. This is their account. It has 2.9 million
Okay.
followers. It says at 9:05 a.m. CT, as DHS law enforcement officers were conducting a targeted operation in Minneapolis against an illegal alien wanted for violent assault, an individual approached U.S. Border Patrol officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun, seen here. The officers
so first
attempted
of all,
to disarm the
Can
suspect.
we pause on that one? That is deceptive, right? In the video,
Wait, I'm
he
still
had
waiting
his
for
gun
where
holstered
does
the
it
entire
say
time.
that they confess that they themselves lied?
Yeah,
Okay.
what real quick, what is the claim of the lie in this?
Yeah, that's what I'm
Before
waiting
we-
to see the claim of the
Okay,
lie.
there's several. That is the first dishonest thing.
Okay, can you
Did
demonstrate
on.
how that's dishonest?
yes, we can bring up the Preddy video and we can look if he ever brandished his weapon.
This doesn't say anything
Marte,
about
do you
people
agree
lying.
that when they say that it doesn't say, he's saying the post is the lie. So
Yes,
here
that's
it
the
says
lie.
an individual approached U.S. Border Patrol officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. So do you agree that when they say he approached with a gun, that this seems as though this is something that they were taking into account at the time when he approached, or does it sound like he just had one somewhere on his body?
You do understand the context of what they're saying right here, and that we can delineate.
Well, I'm
between the
asking you a
nuance
question
here.
about that part real quick, because
If
that's part
if
of
I'm a
his
two-way
claim.
carrying citizen and I'm holstered, I'm still approaching you with a gun, am I not?
Sure, but does this
Right,
is that
right.
the
Yeah,
implication?
so when
is
I
that it's
approach, hold
holstered?
on.
Right.
Well,
Oh
this may
shit! Now
help.
you're
When I
stretching limits of
approach
credulity
someone,
here.
I'm technically
is crazy,
approaching them
Wick.
with my dick. But if I told them I'm approaching this person with my dick, it puts a whole different
How would
spin
they
on it,
still be
while
lying?
technically
Is your
true,
dick not
is
attached to your
dishonest
body?
and deceptive in what actually happened.
How would they still be lying if you approached with it on your person? Would they still be lying? No, they wouldn't
I just explained it. If I say that I approached that, if I say that Tom approached that woman with his dick,
Hold
and
on.
we look at
So,
the video, and his
if
dick
I
was in his
approach
pants,
somebody with a
I'm
knife
technically
holstered,
correct, but
would
it is
that
a
still be
deceptive
approaching somebody
way
with a
of
knife
speaking.
holstered? If I have a
you
If
weapon
answer
they
on
my
said
my
holstered,
person,
I think that is the disagreement, Marte, is that they didn't say holstered, and you're including
they don't
the term
have to say it's
in your
holstered to
statement.
say that there was a weapon present on the person. It was on his person as he approached the volatile situation
Okay,
that
Wick,
he
was there
inserted himself in.
Wick, was
Yes.
there a
The next
second
Yeah,
line
line?
that
is
doesn't
another
allude
line.
to any lies that
Okay,
they're making.
so the very next line says, the officer attempted to disarm the suspect, but the armed suspect violently resisted. More
Yeah.
details on the armed struggle are forthcoming.
We couldn't get his
Yes,
hands under
nowhere
control.
in that video did he
That's
violently
resisting
resist.
arrest,
He never
yes.
struck violently at any of the officers in any of that footage.
So if I spit on an
Do
officer,
I
is that
need
still
anything else
assault?
in this, Wick?
Yes, almost every single line is a lie. They're
No,
all
it's not.
lies,
You
right?
can't. You haven't demonstrated where the lie is. I'm still waiting for that. Wait,
Yes,
if I
that
spit
is a
on an
lie.
officer,
Can you show me where he violently resisted?
if
the
I
officers
spit
during
on
the
it, hold
altercation?
on. Do you understand that these circumstances could be written in paperwork like this? And I'll give you an example. If I spit on an officer, would I get charged with assault?
Did Alex Preddy spit on the officer?
Hold on. Can you answer the question? I'm just asking a simple question.
It's non-responsive, and it doesn't have anything to do with
It
what
does
we're
have a
talking
lot
about.
to, and I'll show you why it has a lot
did
to do
Alex
with this.
Preddy spit on those officers?
If
Did
no,
he
hold on. Can you
violently
answer the
resist?
Can you answer the question straight up? If I spit on
Yeah,
an
Wick,
officer, will I get
he's
charged
trying
with
to
assault?
build a case, if you'll
Yeah,
answer
he
that.
Say
doesn't
one more
want to
time.
entertain with this. Please be good faith here, Wick.
His question is, if Alex Preddy had spit on an officer, would that be
violent resistance? No.
call for
No, you're
would that
framing
call
this
for
differently.
charges of
Can you
assault?
be straight up and answer the question? Would
Sure,
that
it
still
could
be assault?
You could say it's assault, but you'd never say it's violent.
Right.
resistance.
Okay. Now follow this logic real quick. So if I had told somebody that I got assaulted on duty, how would that sound to somebody if I don't add the context? I was still assaulted and I charged somebody with assault. Granted, and I got spat on, but I charged somebody with assault. I just didn't tell
if
him I
you
got
told me
spat
that you
on.
got
Is
assaulted
that
on
still
duty and I
accurate?
found out you just got spit on. I would
Hold
think
on.
that you were being
That
a little
is that
dishonest
Wick.
with me. Yes.
On paperwork, is that still accurate
I'm
that an
answering
officer
you.
got assaulted?
Okay, but again, let's
Oh,
go back
wait,
to
hold
the
on.
point
No,
at hand.
hold on.
Did Alex Preddy violently resist?
No, hold on. So it would follow the logic. If he's resisting and not, we can't get control over his hands and he has a weapon, is that not a volatile, violent situation?
It's not him violently resisting.
It is so if I have a
The
weapon and I'm
violent is a
resisting,
violent situation because
hold on.
the
No,
cops
no,
are being
hold on.
violent
We're
to
getting
him.
into semantics here, and I love this.
I'm
But if
not
you-
getting into semantics.
if
This
you
is a
have
direct
a
claim.
weapon,
You're trying
hold
to
on,
play these
Wick.
fucky wucky
If you
word
have a
games,
weapon,
but it's not working.
no, it is
Hold on.
working.
Everyone can see.
If I have a
understand how
knife
every
and I'm
single
resisting,
person in
that's
my
violent.
chat,
If I
in
have a
Tom's
gun and I'm
chat, in
resisting,
your
that's
chat,
violent.
Can see that you are lying right now.
No,
You are
I'm
being
not
dishonest.
lying. I'm going through
Okay,
a
hold on,
trail
hold
of
on.
logic.
Being dishonest by
Hold on.
refusing to engage.
What you
Wick,
just said doesn't
he
make any
is-
fucking
he
sense.
is making a semantic point over like what these terms mean. So he is talking about semantics, Marte. So what is your point here as far as the
My
violence
point-
goes? Violent resisting.
So if you spit on an officer, that would still be assault, even though if we look on its face, it would be appropriate to say that I was assaulted. Now, it may sound like I would say hyperbolic to tell somebody that, but I don't give them the context of this. I still charge somebody with assault, and it sounds very violent. Now, if I say that the person was violently resisting and it's violent, anybody that has a weapon, whether it be a knife, a gun, a bat, or anything else, and they're resisting, it amps up the propensity for danger. That's violent. It wouldn't be as violent, right? Would you say that it's way more violent
Hold on.
if somebody has a weapon in resisting than non-armed in resisting?
No. It
Wait,
would
hold on.
not be
So
more
it's not more
violent.
dangerous to
If you
arrest
don't
somebody
use
with a
the
weapon.
it is not more violent.
It is more violent if they have a weapon
No,
that
it is
can kill
not.
you and you're arresting them. That's
if you
the
are
dumbest
using
shit.
a weapon,
Wick,
it is more violent.
Wick, I know
but
you're
if
not
you
this
don't use
stupid.
a weapon,
If
it
you
is
have
not.
if you have a life-ending weapon nomenclature, a gun on you, and you're resisting, you just made the situation more violent. The fact that you're not admitting this is crazy and asinine.
Of course you haven't. Why
This
would you?
isn't. This blows my mind, Wick, that you're not even admitting this. This is complete denial on your
So
part.
you think that simply having a gun on someone's person necessarily means whatever you
While
are doing
resisting
is
is
more
violent, yes.
because you have that gun on them.
Yes,
so if
that's
I walk
violent.
into
Yes,
a
it is.
restroom, have I done that violently because I had a gun on me?
If anywhere where you
Is it
have a
more
weapon,
violent?
so do you have a CCW?
If I go into a
Wick?
grocery store or a 7-Eleven or up to a person, am I now more violent simply because I have a gun on my person, whether or not they know
Yes,
I do?
you are. If there's a physical
That is
altercation,
insane.
that
is an
situation is
insane
more
thing to
violent
say.
because of that. Yes, it is.
That is
The
an
reason-
insane thing to say.
So hold on.
And it's
If you
crazy,
Wick, I'll ask you
how
a question.
You're simply trying to spin this.
Wick, no, I'm not
into
spinning this.
anything
This
other
is
than
what
what it
this
was.
is claim.
We
That
can see
is
the
what
video.
happened. Wick,
Alex Preddy never
have a
violently
CCW?
resisted.
do you have a
Do I what?
CCW?
A concealed carry
Yeah.
weapon? No.
Okay, when you get a CCW, they tell you that whenever you insert yourself into a situation, you need to act differently because it's perceived more violent. That's anybody that's a weapons holder, that's a concealed weapons holder. They'll tell you, matter of fact, the two weapons that Alex Preddy didn't utilize were his 2 feet and he could have walked away. He didn't do that, thus making the situation more volatile and violent. The fact that you're disagreeing
He
with
did
this
not
and
do
Well, I
that.
denying
just want
reality
to clarify,
did
Marte.
that.
is insane.
Well, I do want to clarify, Marte. I've heard two separate arguments real quick, and I want to know which one it is that we're making. One of them was that this is more violent. The other one is that there would be the perception of violence. Obviously, the term violence means that you're using use of force to harm somebody, whereas like a gun
No,
could be
not
like a
necessarily.
perception of violence, whereas just having a gun wouldn't actually be use of force to harm somebody. Well, if you want to give a different definition, I would like to hear it, but I would assume that that's the definition that most people are using.
So what's your so Wick, I'll ask you, what's your definition of violence? Because we can look up that definition if you want to get into semantics right now.
Violence, the use of physical force to hurt, harm, or attempt to hurt or harm someone or something.
Oh, okay. So if he's resisting arrest with the intent to evade arrest or to evade apprehension, that's pretty violent. If you're resisting, is it not? That's an act
No.
of violence, right?
No, not unless you use physical force in an attempt to harm or hurt someone or
No,
something.
the intent. So hold on, that doesn't make any
You
sense.
asked for my definition of violence. That's my definition of violence.
Can
that did not play
violence
out
be used?
on Alex Preddy's part during this altercation.
If you look at the secondary definition, it says strength of emotion or an unpleasant, destructive natural force. This could be a behavior where you
hold on, let me
to
get it
resist
straight.
is-
If I
well, too.
yell at you, do you consider that me being violent with you? So if I'm
No,
if
we're
I'm
talking
being
about
arrested by
physicality
cops
here, Wick.
and I yell at those cops, am I violently
Well,
resisting?
no. No,
your definition?
wait, just to be clear, wait, Marte. The definition that you just gave was not about physicality. It was about emotions. You were talking about violent emotions.
No,
that
hold
was
on
the second
real quick,
definition
because
that you
if
just read
you're
that was about
physical,
emotions. If you want to read it again,
we can
you
go
can.
back to the physical.
Your mic
thing
is
real
out
quick.
again.
Can you hear me now? A little bit. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, so back to this. Was he physically resisting arrest because we couldn't get a hold of his hands?
Or are we
No,
talking
he's
about
not physically
resisting arrest or
resisting
violence?
arrest.
That is an act of violence. Now that if you have a gun, there's more potential there, so that's pretty violent now.
Okay.
Well, that's
I'm
Marte.
telling
That's
you.
what I brought up just a little bit ago. Is that you the definitions that you gave or the arguments that you gave? One was about whether or not it is violent. The other one was about whether or not there is a potential for violence.
That's
what I
pretty
was asking
violent.
you to clarify, is because it knows.
So if I have a kid
Okay, so real quick,
and I
hold on,
yank
Marte.
their hand really
The-
quick,
the
is that
thing
violent?
that we're hold on, Marte, hold on. The reason that we're getting stuck here is because the definition that Wick, you asked him for a definition earlier. You didn't seem to disagree with his definition. He gave a definition that included like a use of force to harm somebody. Now, the definition that you gave was about emotions. You didn't go back to that.
No. I can stay
either
on the
we would
initial
have
definition.
to have some use of.
can
Okay,
stay in
so
the
we would
initial
have to have
definition.
like a use of. That's fine. So I'm saying though, in this scenario, in order for us to say that there's not just a potential of violence, but that there is violence, we would have to know where the use of force
Let's
was
clear this
to
up.
harm somebody.
Let's clear this up. So I'll even ask you a question, Wick. Can I violently yank my hand away from you if you're trying to drag me somewhere? Is that a violent act of violently yanking my hand away? Can I say that? And would that be inaccurate for me to say?
To violently yank your hand away if I'm trying to drag
Yeah.
you
Would that
somewhere.
be inaccurate
You can,
to
but
say
that
this?
implies when you do that
Okay,
you're
so an act of
harming me
non-compliance and
somehow.
refusing directives, that would be, you can use an act of violence without intentionally wanting to
Okay,
harm somebody.
He did
right?
not do that
He did do
during
that.
this altercation.
He did do that. So you just proved
Where?
to me.
Can you show me on the video
So-
where you consider? Hold on. Where
So
you
you
consider
just
him to
demonstrated
have
that you don't have
violently
to have intention to
resisted
hurt
arrest.
somebody to be
Just
violent.
show me on the video. Bring it up. There's plenty there, right? Maybe Tom can bring it up. But show me in the video where you think he violently resisted arrest.
There's
You want me to pull
no
up the video,
time.
Martin?
So
Yeah,
okay,
please
if
do.
I tell somebody, hey, I need you to lay down and comply with orders, and you're doing everything but doing that, and in the process, we're trying to actually create more officer safety by involving more bodies and resources on the scene, and you're still not actively complying and laying down, putting your hands behind your head, or anything like that on the video. Guess what? And you have a gun, that creates a more volatile, violent situation. I would call that a
Okay,
violent
but the
arrest.
cops never did that.
I would,
The ICE agents, the
did you
Border
have the
Patrol agents,
audio?
they
Do you have
never
the
did
audio
that
on
during this altercation.
So if you're saying this, you must have heard the audio.
Did you?
No, you're the one making the assumption that you may have heard the audio on this.
You were saying that
You're saying he didn't do
under
this.
the
Can you prove
impression
he didn't do that?
hold on, I never hear a single time them ordering him down. In fact, they drag him back after they pepper spray him. When he gets pepper sprayed, he tries to help the lady up. They drag
No,
him
he didn't try to
back.
help the lady up.
He absolutely bring up the video.
No,
We're
she
gonna have to bring
stood
up. The video.
up.
Can you bring up the video?
What
Tom?
happened was she stood up.
Yeah, I
She was
got it right here.
already up already. He put his arm around
The
her.
woman was on the ground when that was a different woman. He's talking
Yeah, just
about
show the video.
other
We
woman
don't
that
have
they
to.
pepper
We don't have
sprayed.
to guess here. We can just watch.
So they're talking about this woman that he shoved to the ground. He's
Yes.
saying right
He gets
here,
pepper sprayed
this
here.
is where he goes to help her up.
He grabs her. Then they grab him off and drag him off,
Yeah.
and then throw him to the ground. And then
No, he
beat
wasn't
him.
thrown to the ground. He was placed on the ground.
Okay, replay it. Replay it. Show it.
Where's the throw? I'm waiting for the throw.
Right
Where's the
there.
throw? Oh, he wasn't thrown on the ground.
He was thrown to the ground.
No, he was
forced
gently escorted
down,
to the ground. We can see it
beaten,
right
and
now.
then
Stop the
shot.
cap. I don't see any hip tosses. I don't see any tossing. Nobody was thrown.
Darn
Stop.
fine,
You're
then.
lying to us in front of everybody, Wick.
You were saying that he wasn't thrown to the
Wait,
ground.
where's the throw then? I'm waiting for the throw. Where's it at? He got pulled. Where's the throw? Okay, lying in 4K now. Now we can continue. Wick,
Am I
this
lying
is ridiculous.
here? Is this a lie when I say he was thrown on the ground?
He wasn't
He was
thrown.
forced down. He was.
Oh,
beaten,
hold
and
on.
then he
So
was
for,
shot.
now it's forced. It's not thrown anymore.
He was thrown to the ground, forced down.
He
This all
wasn't
happened.
thrown to the
Thrown
ground.
to the
We
ground,
can-
forced down.
Wick, you have
beaten,
two
and then
eyeballs. I know your
shot.
glasses are prescription. They must work, right? Hopefully, he wasn't thrown.
Okay, so real
was
quick, I'm not
absolute-
sure what the disagreement on whether or not he was thrown is for. I don't know if
I don't
this matters
understand
to
either.
And if
the-
it takes three
to the argument
officers
much,
to
but-
detain this guy and get his hands under control, guess what? If he has a gun, that makes it a more volatile, violent situation.
But he is not doing the violence. They are doing the violence to him.
No. We're trying to get him under control.
Just show the whole thing
guy-
until the
No.
shooting part. Don't show the
So
shooting part. But
you're making this sound like as if Preddy was
tell
the
me where
authority
he's
here. He
violent
wasn't.
here.
Preddy is not the authority here. There's a hierarchy. There's an active investigation. We're not going to kowtow and bow down to Preddy when he's the person that's in the way obstructing justice. That's crazy and asinine to even say.
The whole point of why we're doing this is because my claim is that the DHS lied when they said that he violently resisted.
Hold on.
And I want you to show me in the video.
You can't even show
where
me
it
he was
is that you
thrown.
think he was violent.
He wasn't even thrown, so you lied about that, and you're accusing DHS to lie.
I'm going to ask you
about
again.
lying.
Show me in the video where you think Alex Preddy was violently resisting arrest.
If we're pulling him and he's resisting and not complying with officer, he knew. Did he not know that these were agents he was dealing
Wait,
with?
Marte, hold on, Marte. The claim is that he is resisting. He's asking where he is resisting, and then you said if he is resisting, then XYZ. He wants to know where in the video that he's resisting. So
Not just
I'll-
resisting,
I'll
rewind a
violently
little bit.
resisting, just to be clear.
okay, so so I'll play again, and then Marte, tell me when to pause. Okay.
Yeah, right there, automatically. The guy put himself in a situation, and we had to pull him back. The guy obviously
Where
tried
is he
to.
resisting?
If
Where is
he's
he
holding
resisting
onto her
arrest is the
jacket and we had to
question.
pull her off, there's resistance there. Matter of fact, the meaning of resistance is the refusal to accept or comply with something, the attempt to prevent something by action or argument. Was that not what he was doing? I see that right there before my
No,
very eyes.
he was not.
He was. Hold on. If you rewind the tape, he's pulling on her jacket as they're
Rewind the
pulling
tape, let
him.
watch.
Does that not create resistance? Oh, still holding on her. Oh, we have to separate his arm from her jacket. That's resistance. Oh,
That
shit.
is not violently resisting arrest.
That is violent.
Hold on, just to be clear, your claim here. Your claim here is that because he still had a hand on her jacket, that you consider that violently a resisting arrest.
Yeah, I think I would actually agree with you if he didn't holster a weapon during the time or have any weapons on him, for sure. But it definitely changes the case.
Well, hold on.
If we're
What
looking at
about
this,
him having a weapon makes his hand on her coat a violent resisting arrest, whereas if he didn't have a weapon,
he
it
had
would
a
not
weapon.
be a violently resisting.
He had
arrest.
a weapon during this resistance. Did he have it holstered on him?
Yes, it's a holstered weapon.
Where
At
was
this
his other
time,
hand?
it's
Was
still
it free to
holstered.
grab it at any time while he was resisting physically with the other hand? Oh,
What do you
shit, Wick. This is bad.
Hold on. What do you think you just did there?
So when he was resisting being pulled by the ICE agents because he wouldn't comply, holding onto the jacket, his other hand was free while he had an active weapon. Do you think officers would approach you differently if you had a holstered weapon as opposed to if you were unarmed? Do you think that the
We
two
aren't
officers
talking about how the officers will react.
Hold
We're
on.
talking about whether or not
It-
that constitutes violent resist of arrest.
That's a violent resistance of arrest if you have a gun on you.
Okay.
We are going to perceive that as violent.
I'll just let the
as
audience
violence.
just watch it and they can decide for themselves.
Yeah,
whether or
they can
not
definitely decide
they
on this,
think
but I'm
that's a
telling you right
violent
now,
resisting of arrest. He is not harming anyone. He is not attempting to harm
you've
anyone.
already
He at no point
conceded that
reaches
you don't
for
have to
his
harm
weapon.
somebody to be
At
violent.
no point does he harm any of these officers. All he is doing
No.
is trying to help a lady up. He gets dragged
So hold
again,
on. When I give you a
dragged
hypothetical,
to the ground, thrown to the ground.
Hold on.
They sit on
Marte,
him,
let
they
him finish
defeat
real
him,
quick.
and they shoot him in the head.
Okay, so Marte,
the
I'm
back.
gonna let
Might
you
have been
give a final statement on this part of it, and then we'll go back
Oh,
to
me?
the tweet real quick. We do want to try to get through this
Sure.
tweet as quick as possible. So Marte, go ahead.
yeah, so here's the thing though, is like if you have two suspects and an officer approaches, one's holstered, the other isn't, the report's going to look dramatically different during the arrest if somebody resists. We can definitely be justified to say that was a violent arrest because of the optics, perception, and because of the fact that there's increased danger in this volatility of this arrest, as opposed to like the other person was being arrested. And maybe if they were resisting, we could still put violent arrest because the fact that they were resisting, that's an act of violence. Matter of fact, if you're resisting and you're holding on a jacket, I violently pulled you away while you're violently opposing this. That's an act of violence in itself, definitionally. You don't, and matter of fact, you've already conceded the fact that you don't need to outwardly state that you're intentionally wanting to hurt somebody for anything to be violent. You've already conceded that already. Now, moving back to this, I'd love to see where DHS is lying about this on the tweet.
Okay, so so that was the one where it says the officers attempted to disarm the suspect, but the armed suspect violently resisted. More details on the armed struggle are forthcoming. Fearing for his life and the lives and safety of fellow officers, an agent fired defensive shots. Medics on scene immediately delivered medical aid to the subject, but was pronounced dead at the scene. The suspect also had 2 magazines.
Oh,
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, The
Go
defensive
ahead.
shots, there was nothing defensive about those shots. He was not threatening them in any way.
No,
that
that's
was
false.
also a lie.
That's false. So if you have a first weapon, you would say a primary. Would it not be the case that there's probably a probability of a secondary?
There might be.
Right. Do you think officers have a safe assumption to make in a volatile arrest within seconds notice, or even having the perception of the officer, not the video, not 2020 evidence, but in the heat of the moment, to assume if he's then reaching back, which he did on the video, he reached back, that he probably could have had a secondary. This couldn't even been a gun. This could have been a knife or anything else, that we would have been perceiving that because you have 2 magazines, there might have been a secondary.
So do you think that if an officer thinks that a suspect might have a weapon on him, that makes a shooting defensive in nature if they shoot? That all I have to do is I see a guy on a street, I think, oh, he probably has a gun, and I shoot him. Is that
No.
justified as a shooting?
So there's 2 statements you made right now. When you say probably, no, not probably. We already removed the gun off of him already. So that implies that there's probably possibility of a second. Second
Why would
demonstration
that,
I'll give you.
hold on. Why would that necessarily imply that?
Hold on. Okay, then we can address this real quick. The reason why is because you've already conceded right now that if somebody has a primary, they probably have a secondary. Now moving on to
No,
my
I did
second
not
example.
concede that. You asked if
You
it was
already said
possible.
that. You
I
said most
conceded that it
likely,
is
yes.
possible. Not that it is probable.
It's possible.
He said that it
but
was
if
possible.
you're
if
reaching,
that was
hold
the
on.
case.
So I'm going to give you an example. If I'm at a convenience store and I have somebody detained and they're under arrest and I'm trying to apprehend them, which you don't need to be able to tell somebody, hey, you're under arrest. If there's a violent altercation, I can then grab them and try to cuff them up, especially if I have resources, which other officers at my disposal, and we're trying to take them and somebody reaches into their pocket. Am I going to wait for them to say, okay, let's see what it is before they pull it out?
If
Do you
have
think
no
that that's
reason to
reasonable for
believe that
police
they
to
have
do?
a gun, you should not shoot them.
No, that's not my question. If somebody is under arrest, let's make it general. I'll make it dumbed down for you. If somebody's under arrest and we say, hey, freeze, don't do anything, and you reach for your pocket, do you think we should wait to see what you produce to make sure it's a gun before we shoot?
I don't think that you should shoot until you see a weapon.
No, that's not how it works. What the hell?
You
This
asked
is
me what I
ridiculous.
think we
You would
should
have
do. I
so
told
many
you what I
dead
think we should do.
officers in this nation.
But here,
if you're like,
in
no,
this
we have
case,
to see if it's a gun before
Freddie
we shoot.
never reached for her gun. He never reached for a weapon.
He reached down across his back.
Can you
It's
show me that
on
in
the video.
Yeah, show it. Show it to me. Show me the frame.
He does, but it's after he's already been shot.
Yes, people do this all the time
Okay.
in like a last-ditch
So,
effort. This happens
Hold
all
on,
the
hold
time.
on, hold on. So you're telling me that because after he was shot in the back, he reached towards his back, that justified him getting shot in
Yeah.
the back before
Do
he
you know-
reached there.
Do you know what panic fire is? Do you know what that is? If I get shot, I'm
Explain.
probably going to have pattern recognition and reach for the secondary sometimes if that's the case. This is a pattern behavior, especially with CCW holders.
So real quick,
often.
let me
You got to
let me just
justify
play
that
this.
first shot.
Let me just play this real quick so I
Go
can
ahead.
show the audience what it is we're talking about.
See, that's where they're beating him, by the way. Yeah, and then they shoot and they kill him.
So
Yeah,
that's,
do you think-
that's where they start shooting the
There's another
part where
angle, though,
he
to this, where he
behind
reaches-
him.
Yeah, he reaches.
Yeah, the
There's
part
another
where he
angle.
reaches behind him is
So, Wick, we don't think that it's a
Here-
good idea to approach law enforcement with a weapon, right? Do you think that that was a good
Why-
idea?
Hold on. What do you mean? I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that.
There's a lot. If you're
So-
going to
so
have
yeah,
a
so
weapon
it's-
in a
you
certain
already
Hold on.
heard
If
the
I
first
have a
shot.
weapon
situation, that's
holstered on
bad.
me, and I don't.
just
again,
real
I
quick.
don't draw it, I don't
This
reach
is
for it.
him reaching
There's nothing
behind
wrong.
himself, but this is after the first shot, as I said. So
Yes, I don't care what he did after
Yeah.
he shot.
Right. So you don't care that if somebody's still alive and in last ditch effort, they're gonna think life preservation at the time and try to take one last shot.
Because he
this
got
is something that can happen
shot,
often.
and that shot before he reached anywhere was unjustified.
So if somebody got shot and they're still reaching, are you going to, so like I said, the same thing that you went ahead and conceded, are you still going to wait for them to pull it out to see what it is?
I
There's
wouldn't
a
have
wait.
shot the
There's
guy
a
in the
Marte.
first
There's a
place.
hold on. Wait. There's a we have like some wires crossed here. The thing that Wick is contesting is the very first shot. You're saying yes, after the first shot he reaches behind him, so now they have justification to continue shooting. But he's contesting the very first shot that's before he reached behind him.
So when they yell gun, the weapon that he did have has been known to have misfires all the time. We can agree on this, right?
Not all the time, no.
No, it was so much that they discontinued this from the Air Force and other organizations as well too.
But his gun did
No,
not.
wait, hold on.
misfire.
Can you agree to that? The weapon misfired
it
so many
has,
times and had
it
so many
has some
weapons
reports of
malfunctions that
misfire,
they took it
sure,
off the
But
market.
you have to show me where his gun misfired.
There's still footage of this where the guy didn't have his finger on the trigger and it still went off.
Show me where that gun went off.
Are we
Yeah,
just
I'm
going to
not sure
review
where
footage?
it
Okay,
goes off
we can
either.
do this. I don't care.
Well, I mean, from my understanding,
Okay.
the DHS hasn't
That
even
didn't
claimed
happen.
that the SIG went off.
Hold on. Let me not hide the ball.
Yeah,
Let
the
me be
SIG
very
did
clear.
go
Marte, you're
off.
fucking lying.
Yeah,
That never
anyways,
happened, and you
Wick,
cannot
you've been
produce
lying.
evidence
You
of it
lied to me
happening.
twice already.
I've
You've
never
literally
lied to you
me
once
on
during this
camera right now,
conversation.
Wick. You've said the guy was
all
thrown
my
down and
statements
he
have been
wasn't
backed
thrown
up
at
by
all.
either video evidence or textual evidence. Every single one.
So Wick,
So
we
I'm
just
telling
saw
you right
video
now
evidence of the guy
that
not being
you
thrown. And
have
you're going to assert
no
that he was
proof
thrown, which is
that
false. You lied to
the
me in my
SIG
face.
that he used discharged accidentally. You have
Wick,
no proof of that.
Wick, I have proof of you
Okay, real
lying to
quick.
me in my face saying he was thrown and he wasn't thrown. But anyways, let's
He
continue.
was absolutely thrown to the ground.
So
and we
Okay,
no,
can
he
real quick,
wasn't thrown. That's bullshit. We saw this right now. You're gonna lie to
So
your
that I
audience and
can,
mine.
so that I hold on, so that I can X out of this. Wick, you had a second link as well. What was this?
I don't
one?
see
he
any
asked
lies
me
in
for-
this link, by the
This
way.
was a while ago. He asked me for proof. I said
This
that there's
isn't
over
proof,
1,000
Wick.
reports of
Not proof.
Hold on, Marte. Hold
credible
on,
reports
Marte.
of
Hold
human
on.
rights abuses in immigration detention facilities during the years since January 20th, 2025 to current day, right? There's over 1,000 reports. That's the report. It's a Senate report from a Senate hearing. Is that official enough for you? It represents a pattern of
Okay,
abuse.
I'm gonna-
Wait, what?
I'm gonna
Wait,
X out of
hold on
the.
real
Hold
quick.
on, wait. Hold on. I'm gonna X out of the screen share. I sent the same thing to Marte. So Marte, if you want to look at that, you can. If you don't want to contend with this, that's fine. The I did want to get to some different aspects of this, but yeah, Marte,
Sure.
do you
But
want
just
to
to kind of
contest with
put a
the John
bow,
Ossoff
if I
part?
may.
It's hold on real
Just
quick.
to
It's
put a
weird
bow in all
because
this, I'll-
on
I'll
my
make
Hold on.
screen,
Wait.
not proof.
Let me hear. Hold on. I want to. Marte, do you are you wanting to contest with this?
No, well, hold on. I will say this, and my chat can't even admit to this. On the chat, if you can see on the right side of my screen, does it say messages failed to load? I can't even bring up the information. Do you not see that right there? So on my screen, I can't bring up the information that he presented. It's refusing to bring it up. I hit try again, and it's failing to load that information.
Okay.
Not lying. I'm showing
I mean, you can
objective
try on
evidence
your
on my
phone.
side.
I don't think you're lying on
We've
this.
seen your issues.
tech issues
Yeah.
have
If you have
been
your
evidence.
if you have your phone, you can. Do you have Discord on your phone?
No, I don't. I'd have to download it on my phone.
Okay.
But you know what?
All right.
Look,
Well, then hold on.
Well, the first point is well, the first
hold on,
point
wait,
that we
wait,
had
hold
on
on,
X
wait,
is
wait,
moot
hold on,
because I
wait,
didn't
wait.
see any lies
hold on.
that he can demonstrate.
Okay, so Wick, you said that you wanted to put a bow on this, and then we'll let Marte respond, and then we'll move on.
Yeah, go
sure.
ahead.
I think it's pretty apparent from the video we saw and from the text of the DHS tweet that I provided that the DHS lied throughout that encounter and lied about what happened. All the statements I've made on this have been backed up by video footage, which we have reviewed, or by the text, which we have also reviewed. I've been able to show you. I've been able to provide this evidence. And when I ask for evidence in return, you fail to provide it. I asked for proof of the SIG going off and discharging accidentally. And what I would accept as proof is video evidence of it happening or a DHS report saying it happened. But you have failed to provide either of those things. You just consistently lie. And this is a problem. And it's why it's hard to engage with you in good faith on these things because you'll just lie.
Okay, are you done?
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
and then Marte, go ahead and wrap.
I'm going to
this part up.
respond real quick to these claims. So I've shown proof in the initial setup that we've had for this debate that
No,
I've
you
had
haven't.
audio. Hold on. I never interrupted you. That I've had audio issues, video issues, and on my side, it shows messages failing to load. And not to mention this, my bookmarks that I've had for this debate have been eliminated and deleted off my computer. I don't know why I'm having it. So I can show proof that I've had technical difficulties on this issue. But here's the thing, though. You're at the behest of the things that you can't prove to me when you show an email or actually a message from DHS on X saying, well, they're asserting this, that it's violent. It's just the semantical issues in your feelings. When you say this, well, it's not violent if they had a gun, they're wrestling it away from you. Well, that's also a matter of perception. If they say it's violent, do you not know that even if I can see this to you, that it wasn't violent and they said it's violent, that it doesn't move the needle on ICE being a net negative to the nation? Even if I can see this, and you've admitted in the opening onset of this debate saying, yes, they're doing more arrests. Yes, they're doing more deportations. That's literally their job, which is demonstrably a net positive more than a negative. You have to prove, the onus is on you to prove that they're a net negative in this debate.
Sure. Let me ask you this. If
real quick, just for housekeeping, Wick, do you hear Discord sounds? Is it me or is it him?
Notifications are going
Okay, I just wanted to make sure it wasn't me. Okay, okay, go ahead.
So let me ask you this, okay? Say that we could double the deportations under Trump today, right? But in order to do that, we'd have to rape children. So for every time we double the amount of deportations, we have to rape 1,000 kids. Would you be okay with that?
That's a disingenuous question to even ask. Nobody would be okay with that.
Can you engage with the hypothetical, please?
I just did. I said nobody would be okay with that. That's an engagement.
Okay. So there are certain things that can happen that even if we increase our deportation numbers, even if things line go up, we would still not be okay with it and say it's a net negative because a certain thing is happening that we view as so harmful that it overrides the whatever possible benefit we could gain from more deportation.
So
my argument is that the consistent lying, the consistent breaking of the law by DHS and ICE officers are so egregious, so apparent, and happen so often that it overrides any benefit that we get from increased deportation numbers.
Okay,
well, hold on. We did get into this earlier. Hold on. Wait. We did get into this earlier, and like Marte was saying that he was looking for some sort of like systemic problem.
There hasn't been any demonstration
of exist, and so so hold on. So when we're talking about like illegal things, Wick, do you have like examples of court cases or things of this nature that would show that there is something more systemic happening, or even where they're being charged with something illegal?
Well, Tom, can I interject for just a second? I'm not going to derail.
Well, hold on. Well, no.
So I can show you
I'm asking Wick if he does or not.
Sure.
I
can show you reports where they violated court orders. I can show you information where they passed around the whistleblower report of them passing around the secret memo that shows the violation of the Fourth Amendment, right? That's what I can give you. Give me a second. I have so many links.
So, okay.
Again, guys, if you guys want to send super chats with any questions, we're going to try to get to questions in about 30 minutes. So if you guys have any questions, you can send them through a link that's put in my chat for tips, or if you guys even send them to Marte or Wick, we can, I'll get them to send those over to me as well. And
so Tom, while he's looking up this information,
go ahead.
I just want to say,
gave you one.
So
hold on, let me get the.
Hold on, Tom. Report. Can I say something while he's looking up the information, because he was allowed to do that while I was trying to find mine, which computer issues, whatever, right? So he's asserted that I've lied while not demonstrating how I've lied, or in order for him to make an accusation, he needs to be able to logically demonstrate this, which he hasn't on his end. And I've literally asked. I said, okay, they're breaking into houses. Remember, I said before, Tom. I said, okay, can you show me where they're breaking into houses without warrant? These cases. He still hasn't proved any of this or demonstrated this. Yeah, he's accused me of doing the same thing that he himself is doing, which is crazy.
I'm literally hold on. Tom has tried to show you some of these things, but your tech isn't working, so you can't see.
Well,
and that's the
would I
frustrating
still
part
be
of all this.
correct in my analysis? Still, even if I could, am I still right to say I can't see it or
But
haven't
he's-
seen it?
Well, no.
Hold on, hold on, no,
He's
hold on,
not
stop.
lying when I
No,
say
no,
argument.
hold on,
Because I-
hold on. He was asking me a question, so
Yeah.
the problem is that when you say he hasn't demonstrated it, Wick is your claim isn't just that you haven't seen it, but that he hasn't demonstrated it. So Wick is claiming he has demonstrated it. Your tech problems are keeping you from knowing that he's demonstrated it.
Okay, then we can say that. Then I can say my technical difficulties are preventing me from knowing he's demonstrated this, but I can't agree with something that I can't prove as well too, that I can't see.
Okay, and that's
Right?
that's why we're gonna move on. So
Yeah.
the article that he just sent me is from Politico. It says how ICE defies judges' orders to release detainees step by step. Courts across the country have overwhelmingly rejected the Trump administration's effort to round up thousands of immigrants and lock them up without a chance for bond, even if they have no criminal records and have lived in the United States for years. But the Trump administration has slow walked or outright defied judges' orders demanding the release of people scooped up by the Immigration and Customs Enforcement at increasingly rapid clips. So,
Tom, can you send that to me on X, because I have my X up right now. I'm pretty sure that we're I don't know if we're friends on X.
yes.
That way, because I'm trying to be as good
While
faith
you
as
look, I
possible.
gotta use the restroom real quick. I'll be right
Unlike
back.
what
Okay,
Wick
okay.
is saying, he's saying I'm bad faith. That's why I'm opening up new avenues of connection. So we had this fluid communication, and I'm offering X so that way we can at least see that. If my Discord is down or
Also, do me a
malfunctioning,
favor. If you guys have to walk away, don't. I meant to say this earlier, but don't turn off your cameras because it does. I have like all of the cams set up separately over here, so that's why like screen sharing and stuff like that does mess up everything on my side. But okay, so I'm gonna send this to you on
so it's a news source.
Twitter. Yeah, so it's from Politico, but it does have sources linked.
And that's the thing, though. And I just want to, like, I'm not trying to do a gotcha or anything like that in his lack of presence here, because I think that would be bad faith if I just try to slam his whole argument when he wasn't present. But I do want to say, though, that when he did show I would say the statement from DHS on X, this is just like a perception issue. This isn't like, okay, it doesn't mean he was resisting or anything like that. Even if we took out the violent out of this doesn't change the fact that he was resisting and that they wouldn't be justified to not say this. And we kind of lose the premise when we're saying he still was resisting regardless, and it doesn't move the national needle on net negative on this whole argument. That's all I was saying, just to clear things up on my end.
According to my side, Twitter's down.
So it's like a lot of malfunctions happening on our end. This is just a crazy, weird tech day for everybody, I guess.
Okay, now it's up. All right. What is your name on Twitter again?
It's Mighty Marte.
Okay.
Wick, how come, you know what? This is aside from the whole point, Wick. How come you always wear a hoodie? Like,
Branding.
You remind me of Ewok every time I see you. This isn't a jab, by the way.
Branding.
Okay, I sent it to you.
Okay. Let me refresh this so I can see this real quick.
All right, so Wick, real quick, summarize for us once again what it is that we're supposed to get from the article.
Are we looking at the political one right here?
Yes.
So earlier in the debate, I mentioned and I asserted that ICE is regularly defying the courts, slow walking release orders, or in some cases outright ignoring release orders or ignoring judges' orders. And this is reporting showcasing that is correct, that my assertion is correct. And the reason why this is important is because it demonstrates a pattern of behavior. Because my argument is that ICE, DHS, the Trump administration, because of their policies, are engaged in a pattern of behavior that is eroding our civil liberties. And here is one bit of evidence that showcases that. There's a lot to go through, but that is one.
Oh, hold on real quick. You're talking about this article where the judges are basically going against the Trump administration or refusing to cooperate with him. Yeah, of course. We've had judges fighting him from even lawful arrest. This happens all the time by refusing to let DHS agents arrest on site with the court when they're justified doing this. We actually had a
Okay,
case.
these
and
are
I can-
hold on. These are habeas petitions.
hold
Do you
on
know
real
what
quick.
a habeas petition is?
Hold on. I'll even state a case, and I can bring this up as well too, where a judge had let
I
a
just-
defender
Well, wait,
go out
hold
the
on.
back
This
door.
is wait. Marte, let him respond because
Yeah,
I don't
go
want to move to an example before he gets clarification.
Okay,
in.
I'm just asking you if you, and I'm not asking this as a gotcha. I just want to know if you know what this is, so I can explain if you don't. Do you know what a habeas petition is? Habeas. Sorry.
Wait, say it again. My audio's messing
A
up.
habeas petition. Do you know what that is?
A habeas petition? Did you wait?
Yes.
Hold on. Say it again.
Habeas.
Yes, that is what he's asking. Do you know what habeas is? Like habeas corpus.
You're talking about the process of allowing the lawfulness of positions to justify holding somebody, things like that.
Yeah, when someone puts
Yeah.
Someone's
puts,
ability to
forward a
challenge whether
habeas
or not they're
petition,
being held.
they're challenging challenging the government's ability to hold them in prison or detainment, right? Oh, his audio went out.
Your audio's out again. Your mic is out again. Your mic's out again.
Here, I'll give my audience the article too, so they.
It's a safe. Can you guys hear me now?
I can't hear a word you're saying.
Hold on real quick. You hear me now?
Yes.
It's a safeguard
Yes.
against government detention. I'm familiar with that.
Yes. So when a detainee feels that they have been wrongly detained, they are putting forth a habeas. I'm sorry, I pronounced it wrong. A habeas petition to the courts, and when they win their petition, when they win their case, ICE is delaying, or in some cases, outright ignoring the court, and that is illegal. They do not
So
have the
hold
ability
on.
to do that.
If you're talking about where in Minnesota where judges are refusing to work with the Trump administration, you know that this knife cuts both ways, right?
How does it cut both ways?
It cuts both ways when you have people like Brandon Johnson refuse to basically saying that we have ice-free zones. So naturally, if you look at Chicago, even as an example, judges aren't going to work with the Trump administration also. Would that not
Judges
stand to
have
be
no
correct?
obligation to
Hold on.
work with the administration. They have an obligation to uphold the law.
So you mean to tell me
If the law
that
requires
with law
them
they're
to
hold on. Is it refusing to work with the law if you're telling people we have ice-free zones?
hold on.
Oh no, answer the question. Is that a refusal to work
yeah.
with federal law if you're telling ICE, who
You
are federal
can.
agents and have jurisdiction to work
You
anywhere
know that,
except for
that
national
sanctuary
parks?
cities are legal, right?
No, hold on.
Well,
Can you answer the question, Wick?
Yes, it's
So-
legal to do that.
No,
It's
no.
legal to do that.
Federal
Judges are legally
agents-
allowed,
Federal
right? Or
agents can
cities,
operate
politicians
anywhere.
are legally allowed to say, hey, we're not going to cooperate with the federal government here. We're not going to work with them.
So you're admitting that they are actively obstructing
10th
ICE
Amendment,
from
man.
detaining criminals and taking them. That's what you just
No, I'm
admitted right
not.
now.
No, I'm not.
No, hold on.
What you're
You said they
asserting-
can lawfully
Yes,
resist and
I'm
not
not
work with the
asserting
government.
that they're doing
just
it.
said
I'm
this,
asserting
Wick.
that they can.
Well, hold on. All right, we're getting a little off the
Yes,
off
and you're
topic for a
not
second
again
because-
engaging with
because-
my
hold
question.
on, wait,
You're not
hold on,
engaging
hold
with
on,
any
hold
of
on,
my
Because
hold on.
questions.
logically,
Ready?
it
Hold on,
has to
wait,
make
Stop,
sense.
hold on,
stop,
hold
wait,
on.
please.
No,
Hold
Let me
this
get
is
through this.
crazy.
Let me get through this, please.
So-
You got to.
Well, this is
Okay,
the
well, hold on.
problem is
Can I-
that
can I just get through this?
his claim was about a judge not cooperating and that the courts were not
Sure.
cooperating. But the example that he gave was, I believe, a mayor, Brennan Johnson. Whereas I was going to ask for an example of courts not cooperating, if that's what we're talking
Yeah,
about.
this is also the police department and courts, and his whole city is basically saying we're having ice-free zones, which means that
What
ICE can't
judge
operate.
has
Hold
refused
on.
to cooperate with the
Hold on. ICE can't
administration?
operate within court systems, the streets, or any jurisdiction in their city because apparently the whole of Chicago is ice free, which means they're refusing to cooperate with them. So when you say this null and voids your point when you say that, no, it's just
No, it doesn't.
the government that's at fault when the courts aren't operating with ICE or even wanting to cooperate with ICE.
Can you give
That's
me a
crazy.
case, a single instance? Can I ask my question first? Can you give me a case or a single instance anywhere in the United States of America where the government has brought suit and the courts, even though the petitioner has a legal right to bring a suit, because it's ICE, the government has refused to hear it?
Say that again. My audio was kind of acting up.
The judges have refused to hear it, I should say. Okay, let me repeat it again. Can you give me a single instance in the continental United, or even, I won't say the continental, you can do Hawaii too if you'd like, right? In the United States of America, right? Can you give me a single instance where ICE has had a legal ability to bring something to court, right? And that the justices or a judge has said, I'm not going to follow the law and I'm going to deny your petition?
Yeah, I can bring it up. Matter of fact, Tom, I'll send it to you right now. Give me 1 second.
Okay, please. I'd love to hear it.
This is crazy. This is actually a pretty popular and actually famous example. I'll send it to you through X since X is working, because I don't know why I can't really
X. Okay.
Yeah, I know. I have to do it through X.
He's sending it to me. I'll send it to you on Discord. Wait.
Please do.
Matter of fact, the judge was found guilty of this. It's crazy.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. That's not them. Again, that's not them refusing to cooperate.
They were
right?
refusing, yes. So if you let a criminal out of the back door and not letting an arrest happen, that's a refusal, is that not?
What happened
You
to that
sent
person?
YouTube.
Oh, shit.
Sir, what happened to that person?
You said a single case. I sent it
Sir,
to
what
you,
happened
Tom.
to them?
Hold on.
What
hold
happened
on.
to them?
I sent it to Tom. He could check this out.
Okay. What
Well,
happened to them?
you sent me a
person?
YouTube
I see
video,
it.
but
You sent it to me.
he's
But
aware
I
of
know
the
I
case.
know the case he's talking about. To
So
be clear.
real quick, just for everybody, that the cases where a judge had an immigrant inside the court, 2 ICE officers showed up. The judge had somebody go and escort the ICE officers to another judge, and then she helped the immigrant sneak out the back of the courthouse. So,
Yeah.
Wick, what was your response
So-
to this?
How is
Here's
that
the
not
thing.
refusal?
I'll concede that that's the case, but she got arrested
Oh,
for that. She was held
shit.
accountable for that. and
Fuck,
thus,
Wick.
hold on.
Yeah, go ahead,
You're
Wick.
laughing.
Go ahead.
But can you understand the difference between a justice who broke the law, getting arrested, going through the process, being found guilty,
Refusing?
but when then ICE breaks the law by defying the courts, they are not held to any account.
Can you
at all.
show me an
You understand
example?
the difference here?
Can you show me an example where ICE broke the law? Because that article doesn't say that ICE is breaking the law, and it's not
Okay,
giving a
do you
single
think it's
case or
legal
any
to
of that
defy
stuff.
the courts? Do you think
Yeah.
it's legal to ignore a court order? If ICE decides, I don't want to abide by this court order, do you think that they have the legal ability to do so?
If ICE says I don't want to abide by that court order,
Yes, the judge orders, hey, this habeas petition has come through. I find that the petitioner is correct.
I can
you should
engage.
release them now. In
I-
your view,
I can
does
engage
ICE
with
have
this.
the legal ability to ignore that order and keep the person detained anyway?
I can engage with this. So here's the thing, though. I can actually agree and concede that, yeah, ICE would be in the wrong doing this, but I've yet to see one good example. But when you ask for an example, you've actually known about this. And Tom actually elaborated how a judge was refusing. And you said, no, that's not refusal. Letting somebody out of the back
Do you
door of
understand
a
that I
courthouse.
gave you an article
Hold on.
showcasing
When you show me
many
an article that
examples,
gives a broad analysis
hundreds
of something and doesn't
of
cite a single
examples.
case, it's crazy. When I cite
In
a single
fact,
case, an example,
one judge cites
Wait,
in the
Marte,
month of
let him
January alone
respond.
96 examples of them defying court orders.
haven't seen one. You're just making assertions without a demonstration.
I'm
of
not making
any.
assertions. I am providing evidence of what the federal justices are saying. I gave you an article through Tom that sent it to you.
So
If
looking
at
up
this
the
point you are
article,
refusing to acknowledge that, then
So
I
hold
don't
on,
know what
hold
to
on.
tell you. You're just fucking lying.
hold on. If we look at this and they say that these practices are concerning to suggest that ICE is attempting to hide the location of detainees and all this other stuff in the midst of judges that were refusing to work with them, Who has the jurisdiction here? Judges or ICE that have to detain these people and take them out of the country? Who has jurisdiction here?
Hold on.
The
Can I
ICE
ask you-
does.
Can I ask you what that has to do with the
ICE
question I
does.
asked?
So if the judge had jurisdiction here, she wouldn't have
What
got
does that have
arrested
to
for
do- hold on,
refusing. It would have
answer
been the
my
other way.
question.
Hold on.
What does
Quick.
that have to do
If
with the assertion I have made?
if the
or
judges
question
had
I've asked?
jurisdiction here, the ICE
Wait,
would have
hold
been
on,
arrested.
Marte. Hold on. You did make your argument. I wanted to let Wick respond.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure. That is non-responsive to the assertion I've made, the evidence I've provided, or the questions I've asked. I've asserted and provided evidence that in the month of January alone,
It's not proof.
again, the article I sent provides that proof. Where a
Doesn't
federal
have proof
judge
in there.
has said that the ICE has defied the court 96 times in the month of January alone, which is more than some institutions have done in their entire existence. Do you deny that that happened?
So when you say this, when you make claims
Do
like
you
this,
deny that that happened?
deny that what happens? Repeat it again.
That a federal judge,
That they then
made the
defied the
assertion.
court 91 times.
96.
96. Do you deny that the judge is correct, or
So the judge
And I
you
see
agree
this
that that's-
case because I'm hearing it.
it's not a case, it's 96 cases. It's
Okay,
a
where is he
judge
getting this data
claiming that
from? Where is
they-
he getting this information from? Once again, I want to see it, not hear it, and just
It was
bite
the
bullet
article
things.
that we
the
sent.
worst. I keep
It was
giving you the
the
evidence,
source
and you
that
say,
he
"Where are you
sent.
getting it
Okay,
from?"
hold on. Let me give me a second. I'm gonna scour through this information real quick. Okay. On to the third paragraph right now, going through still. It's saying what they should, what
So
I
the second,
should do.
The second
I'm over.
paragraph. Says
I'm on the
this.
should
second
claim
paragraph.
that the
Before
article's
second one,
making
let me
right
just
now.
read it
I'm
out.
still
I'll just read
waiting
it
for
out to
this.
you.
Hold on.
I'll just read it out to you. Okay. The second administration says, but the Trump administration has slow walked or outright defied judges' orders demanding the release of people scooped up by immigration and customs enforcement at an increasingly rapid clip. So when the, again, second paragraph says judges the administration has outright defied judges' orders demanding the release of people, are you countering the article's assertion here? Do you think that that's not true?
So the reason why it's very fallacious for you to bring this up when I point out that judges
I'm
are
asking a simple question.
no.
I want a simple answer, but you run.
I don't think
You
it's
run from
no.
every single
It's not
point I
that
make.
simple, Wick,
You are
because
the fastest.
you just don't
motherfucker
want your
who is
argument
running
destroyed.
a marathon from every
you don't
single
want
Wait,
your
point
argument
I
hold
make.
on,
destroyed.
You
Marte.
It's not a
gave-
simple answer.
Marte, we would have to have an answer. Marte, we would again, like, it's fine for you to give
But
an
Tom,
explanation, but or to say that you disagree.
I
with
disagree.
with his argument, but you would have to say no. Yes, I contend with
disagree,
this
and I can explain
because
why.
X, Y, and Z. Okay, go ahead.
I disagree, and I can explain
So
why.
to be clear, just so I'm clear, you're saying that didn't happen.
It didn't happen, and I can explain why.
Okay, explain.
Okay, great. Now that we've established this, I can move on to explaining why this whole premise is stupid. So if I've
Oh
actively
no! You have to explain why that didn't happen.
No, you're not
You
letting
claimed
me
it didn't
explain it.
happen.
I'm explaining why it
Explain.
didn't happen. The reason why it
Provide
didn't happen.
evidence.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, can I even
Okay,
finish my
give your argument first. Go ahead.
So the reason why it didn't happen, and I can say more often than not it didn't happen, and I'll say this right now, is because if there's a whole city that's denying ICE operations from working in that whole city, we can assume that a lot of these judges are refusing to work with law enforcement and federal authorities. So by proxy, if they're refusing to work with federal authorities, they're going to say that, no, they're not working with us. No, it's the other way around. That's crazy. We literally
we
had a
can't
whole
not
mayor of a
assume.
city.
Any of this.
We had a whole
we can't-
mayor of
we
the whole
can't
city to say
assume.
not working with ICE. We have an ICE-free zone. That means federal operations can't work within our city. That's the other way around. How is that not, Wick?
It does not follow
Right.
that your assertion that this did not happen just because a mayor made a statement about ICE-free zones that is not evidence that when the justices,
It is
multiple
evidence.
justices, have claimed, and this is in multiple locations, have claimed that, hey, the courts are ICE is defying the court. ICE is ignoring our orders. ICE is in contempt of court, right?
So hold on.
Them saying that they're ICE-free zones has nothing to do.
Would a
with
court
that
be an
claim.
ICE-free
It
zone?
does not wipe
Would a
away
court-
that claim. It is
Wait,
not
wait.
evidence that that claim is fallacious. It is not evidence that that
It
claim
is
is not happening.
fallacious.
It is non-responsive.
So hold on, Wick. If Mayor Brandon Johnson said the whole city is an ICE-free zone, would that not apply to the courts?
Is that
It
court
technically doesn't.
in
It
Minneapolis?
technically
the
it
ice-free
does. If the
zone
mayor's
from-
saying that law
So
enforcement
real
has
quick,
a
hold on.
stand-down
Wait,
order,
hold on, Marte, hold on. The two things. One, the ice-free zones means that they're saying that they're not allowed to just go do raids and like random pullovers, that
Not
they
true.
have to have judicial warrants. Well, that is what it is that they actually put into place. The statement that they put out is
No,
that they have to have warrants, but before you go, that is still a different issue from whether or not you disagree that ICE has broken the court orders. That would be a separate issue
And
from that.
to be clear, these
So-
are not state courts.
I
They're
don't believe it's
federal
a
courts.
separate issue. The reason why I don't believe
Hold
it's
on.
a
These are
separate
federal
issue.
court- Hold on. Do you know the difference between a federal
Okay,
court
so
and a
both
state
of you
court?
guys can go, and we're just gonna. It's like we.
I
can-
just want you to answer one question or engage with one point in good faith. Just one. If we can do that, that'll be a victory for you. a
You
moral
literally
victory
lied
for
to me
you.
twice, but go ahead, Wick.
I've never lied once.
Oh,
Again, do you understand
the
the difference
person was
between a
thrown
state
down,
court
but
and
go
a
ahead.
federal court? Can a state mayor or governor influence? Not influence is probably the wrong word. Can they control a federal court?
Even if they couldn't,
No. The answer is no.
even if they
So
couldn't,
when a
hold on, that
mayor
makes
or a
no
governor
fucking sense
declares
what
an
you just
ice-free
said.
zone,
Wick,
it does make
that
no
makes no
difference
sense.
to
Wick,
what
Wick,
a federal court
I'll show you why your logic's
does or does
faulty and
not
stupid.
do.
Let me
So
show
when a
you why this
federal
logic is
court-
dumb.
The federal
Wick-
court says that ICE is
Wick,
disobeying our orders,
let me show you why this logic is
citing
faulty.
a governor or citing a mayor or citing any of that has no bearing on what they're saying.
Let me
Again,
show you why
what you're
this
saying
logic is
just
faulty.
not responsive.
Wick, are you just gonna?
to any
Are
of
you
my
almost
points.
done, Wick? Because you're still talking. This is why the
Yes.
logic
Yeah, Marte,
faulty.
we're still waiting for why like the why this
This
is
is
relevant to
Because I
the
couldn't even get to it. I just want to get to it real quick. I'll be really quick. I promise, maybe a minute and a half. The reason why is because they've not.
Your mic went out again. Your mic went out again. That was some fucking timing right there, dude. That was some wild timing right there. The reason is because
So the reason why, can you guys hear me now? This
yes.
This only happens on Discord, I swear. The reason why I'm saying that this is an overarching premise by having ice-free zones is because the police have been told to stand down and not work within behest of what the mayor's saying too. So when you say things like the federal court is saying that they can't, whatever, this is beside the point, because if police aren't supporting this and the judges follow suit, guess what's going to happen? You're going to have ice-free zones in courts and on the street and everywhere else. So when you say it's only on the streets and police aren't cooperating, would it not make sense that the judges in the legal system, which is a part of the police as well too, would not follow suit with this? The ice-free zones are an extension of just the streets. I'm just letting you know right now.
Hold on, wait, Marte, I'm still not understanding how this connects to whether or not ICE officers are breaking court orders, because this isn't just like in one city that a judge is making this claim. These are judges like across the country, according to the article, that have made this claim. And so we're trying to get to a point where, like, even if one city has said that they are an ICE-free zone, and even if there is a rogue judge somewhere in that city, that this wouldn't like apply to whether or not you, like, 96 different times ICE has broken court orders.
So
like, I'm just trying to get to a point where we can actually
if we can
engage with this
overwhelmingly see that Wisconsin's courts and even their judges are kind of opposing this, and even if we look at Michigan, how the police are basically backing down and not supporting them at all, I mean, mind you, Chicago's mayor is supported by not only the extension of law enforcement, which is also their.
I'm sorry, Marte. I'm really trying to understand, but it's like we're getting really entangled. Is your claim that because there are places that say this, you believe that
No, not
judges
places.
are lying in saying that? Hold
Not
on,
places.
is it your claim? Hold on. Is it your claim that judges are lying in saying that ICE isn't that ICE is breaking court orders, or what is the? I still don't
Judges-
get the claim on the
Judges
breaking of court
are willfully not cooperating with Trump at all. Not only that, but the city and law enforcement and also the mayor as well too.
I'm sorry, I don't understand what that has to do with whether or not ICE is breaking court orders. We're trying
So
to, like,
if you have, so here's, I'll even tie this in real quick. So if you have people that are not cooperating with ICE and saying they're not going to do what we're going to do, but we need them to follow our orders, and even though ICE has prime jurisdiction over apprehending these criminals, guess what's going to happen? They're going to paint a picture and say they're not working with us, even though they refuse to work with ICE. You see how optics?
so that's what I
we're
was.
not
That's what I was
talking
asking.
about
That's
that.
what I'm asking. So that you're saying that they are lying about ICE breaking court orders. That's.
I believe they're
what you're
not.
saying, yes.
I believe they're not forthcoming. I agree with that. They're not forthcoming about this because they refuse to work with ICE. So
No,
it
no, no,
logically
not
makes
When you
sense.
say forthcoming, do you mean
Hold on,
lying?
Wait. I'm sorry. Wait. Yes, they are. They would be lying. They are making a claim. They are forthcoming with this information that ICE is breaking.
Wait,
court
hold on.
orders.
Can you be
You're saying they're
forthcoming with
lying
an
about
omission?
this.
Okay, if I don't tell you that I'm working with somebody, but then I tell you that I'm refusing to work with somebody, what's a lie of omission?
Sure. They give me an
That has
example
nothing to do
of
with
in this
oh, no,
case
I'm
where
gonna go
they
crazy.
That
say.
has
Hold
everything
on,
to do with what we're talking about.
Wait. Hold on. I'm
You have a
really
whole
trying to
city
get to
that's
this.
not
Like,
working with
wait,
Trump.
Hold on. Wait, Marte, in this case, give me an example with this court case where we would say that the judge is saying that judges are saying that ICE is breaking court orders, and there's 96 of them. Give me an example of them lying by omission in this.
So hold on.
in
I
this
don't even
case.
have to give an example of one judge. I can tell you a mayor who's given a direct order to all the officials and everybody else in the city that the city in itself is an ICE-free zone. Would it not logically make sense that if the courts are saying that we're not working with police officers and supporting their back, that judges would follow suit and everybody else in the legal system would not follow suit if police are attached to this
No,
legal
these are
system
separate
refusing?
things.
No, they're not.
Why would it ever follow?
Do
that
judges
that's the
not work
case?
hand in hand with
And
police?
it doesn't matter.
Law
These are
enforcement.
federal judges across the country saying this.
Hold on. We're talking about courts, period, in the city. The whole city is an ICE-free zone. He's actually told the National Guard, you can't even come in here. The whole city's an ICE-free zone.
Okay,
You can't even
understand
bring anything
how
federal in
federalism
there.
works. The federal judges are not, again,
We're talking about the
beholden
city.
to a governor or a mayor.
Oh, hold on. That may be true, but we're talking about in the city that's refusing National Guard or anything federal to operate in that city.
Nothing about a city refusing National Guard or whatever has anything to do with federal judges across the country.
Even if that was the
claiming
case.
that ICE has violated court orders 96 times in the month of January.
Even if this was the case that a federal judge said, hey, you guys are to
Multiple
follow
federal
our orders,
judges.
and this whole city as a whole is refusing to work with the Trump administration, even on a federal level, to me, that's refusing directives to work with us, and that's a refusal on their end, not our end. You understand that?
This has nothing to do.
It has
with the
everything to
claim.
do. If
It does not.
Wisconsin,
Your
and
logic
if
does not
Michigan is following
follow.
suit, and Chicago is doing the same thing, and nobody, even Newsom, isn't working with Trump as an administration because he even said National Guard or anything federal can't operate in my city for the most part. They're literally creating a civil war legally and even politically against Trump to even cooperate with Trump as an administration. The refusal is massively on their end. They don't want to work with us.
I'm going to try one more time.
This is crazy, Wick.
Don't know what else to do, but I don't know if you understand that
Wick, you
federal
don't understand my.
judges
Go
are
ahead.
not
Wick.
beholden to Newsom. They're not beholden to some random mayor somewhere. They're beholden to Congress. Okay, they're beholden to the executive branch. They're one of the co-equal branches of government. Mayors cannot tell federal judges what to do, right? So they cannot instruct a federal judge to disobey the federal government because it's a federal judge. They have no power over them, right? They don't appoint them, none of that. So when federal judges across the country are reporting that
Vic,
ICE agents,
you're a
and
lying piece of
DHS
shit, and I can point
Fuck.
this out. They're lower courts,
let me
not
finish.
federal judges. All we need is lower courts to refuse to work with them. The federal judges can say, you know what? We're going to work and we're going to be benevolent.
They're
You're assuming
breaking
this.
federal
It's the lower
court
courts that are
orders.
refusing to
You
work
understand
with
this, right?
ICE.
They're breaking federal court orders.
Yes,
The
they're
federal court
breaking
is saying,
federal
"Release
court
these
orders.
people," and
Yes,
they are
I'm glad you
refusing
got
to
the whole
release
premise. Yes,
them.
they're doing this. This is
So
crazy.
you agree then that the federal courts are ordering ICE agents or ICE and DHS to release prisoners from custody or detainees from custody, and that ICE is refusing to do so. Do you concede that point?
What the fuck are? Look, listen. You know what? I'm gonna be really nice and benevolent and charitable here, and just assume you're being good faith right now because I just told you that the lower courts aren't cooperating with ICE at all. It doesn't matter what the federal courts say if the lower courts aren't
That
cooperating
doesn't have
with
anything to do
ICE.
with what I said. Shut the fuck up.
They're not.
Shut up.
Rick,
Shut up.
you're
It has nothing
spurting
to
again.
do- I'm not talking about the lower
The
courts.
lower
I'm talking
courts
about
aren't
federal courts.
cooperating with ICE. It doesn't fucking matter, Wick. The lower courts aren't working with ICE. The whole city isn't working with ICE. I can give you states, whole states, matter of fact, Wick. California, Wisconsin, the whole city of Chicago. Matter of fact, we're going with New York next. I predict isn't going to work with Trump either. The whole jurisdiction of
Wick,
New York.
Can you get a specific example of one of these judges
can try.
claiming that
Okay,
they
give me a
didn't, so that we can look at this specific example and see?
A specific
um,
example of them define. I'll give you one off the dome. Okay. You remember CCOT? Do you remember what happened there? Okay. CCOT was a prison in El Salvador, I believe, that Trump used the Alien Enemies Act to send about 280 guys there. Okay. There's all sorts of abuses and things that went on there in that whole process. But one of them was when they went and the lawyers for these people who were being shipped to CCOT, to a foreign prison, they went before a judge and the judge said, okay, no, we gotta hear these guys out. They need their due process. So they ordered them the Trump administration not to fly the planes out. Okay. The Trump administration said, oh, we already sent the planes. The judge told them, hey, they're in the air, but turn them around and bring them back home. The Trump administration ignored them and did not do that. That is one example off the dome back from last year.
El Salvador told the United Nations that it was merely providing infrastructure, and basically Trump was arguing, saying that they're under the exclusive control of El Salvador. Like, the Trump administration repeatedly told the U.S. courts that it lacked the authority to return the Venezuelans sent to CCOT.
That's not what I'm talking about.
That's what they were saying, and that's
true. Before they got to CCOT, before they even got there, the judge ordered the planes to not go there, to turn around, and the Trump administration ignored that order.
So, okay. Even if, well, hold on. For the grandiose perspective, if we take a bird's eye view with the argument, let's say that we even concede this point. This is a granule of sand in the whole scheme of when you say net negative for the United States in the whole operation that ICE is working in. When I point out whole cities that are refusing to cooperate with Trump, and then not to mention this, but the fact that we have ICE-free zones, we have California as a whole is working with him. New York is next with Mamdani is going to refuse to work with him, and that also applies to the lower courts. They're going to refuse to work with him. This is a civil, basically creating a civil political war in refusing to work with Trump. Even
I'm sorry,
if we
I don't mean to interject so much, but I'm having a problem because I'm trying to make sure that the conversation is capable of moving forward. And when we're trying to set a standard of like how he's capable of proving this, Wick has brought up data, whether that's true or not. He's brought up data, but when he brings up the data, you do like
I'll address
say that you don't believe the data. And so I asked him to give it a specific example, and he gave the specific example. And so it is on me because I am asking him to bring up specific examples here.
Do the courts have authority over
out,
international affairs when it comes to international air and space?
can I just make this clear?
Can you
what's
can you
happening?
answer the question? Do judges have
Hold on,
control
let-
over
let me-
international
let me-
space and authority over international affairs?
No, the executive has
shit, they
control of
don't.
international affairs, but
They
has,
don't.
that is
Okay.
not
I
responsive.
just wanted to make sure. That's
to-
all.
Again, that's not responsive to the point I'm being made. You keep doing this.
No, you
When
said that
I'm
they
asked for
refuse
examples,
judges' orders when the
I
judges
give you
don't
an
have
example,
authority.
but then you say, "Let me finish." I asked you asked for examples, like you got to show me. So I give you an example to show you, and you said, "Oh, look, you're just giving me one example, and
No,
that doesn't showcase
But I also
that they're
throw
keep
that out
doing it."
and
And you
demonstrate
keep
how it
doing
doesn't.
this dodge. You're running. You're the marathon
Not
man.
running at all.
We're gonna call you Marte Marathon because you're running a marathon because you run from every single point I make.
Nope,
Okay,
I'm engaging
Marte
with this.
Marathon over
I've
here.
engaged
That's where
directly with
that's your
that by
name
saying
now.
that they
That's
have
what
no
you live
authority,
with.
and you've
That's what
even
you're gonna
agreed with
be.
that.
But here's the problem that you're having.
Sure,
is
I'd
I
love
can
to hear the
provide
problem
evidence
I'm
and
having. Go
examples
ahead,
of what I'm
Rick.
saying, and I can show you again and again and again a pattern of behavior from DHS and ICE where, again, this is just breaking court
I gave you a
orders.
direct response to your
overwhelmed.
example.
But we'll give you, I'm going to even say, even in the case, right, that there's multiple cities, multiple municipalities, multiple states even that are refusing to work with the government. And I believe you used the term civil war or a civil war
It's a
against the government.
political.
Do you think that
civil
America
war.
is worse off under a civil war?
That's not even analogous to the point we're making.
Okay,
right
no,
now.
can I just answer yes or no? Is America worse off under a state of civil Cold War?
I'll be good
Then
faith and
if that
engage with it,
didn't-
unlike
okay.
you. No,
So,
America's
again,
not worse.
ICE's behavior is
Oh,
leading
you won't
to
even let
this
me answer the
state.
question. You're going to
And
ask me a
therefore-
question I can't even answer
And
it.
therefore, I'm just
Oh, see
talking
what
you
I'm
through it.
saying? Bad
And
faith. Go ahead.
therefore, and therefore,
Bad faith. Go ahead.
Trump under ICE or ICE under Trump is a net negative for America because it's led to this state of multiple municipalities, cities, governorships, states, etc., refusing to work with the federal government.
You know why that's a
just
lie?
Ceded the argument
You know why that's a
by
lie?
your argument.
Obama had more deportations, and guess what happened? The right didn't fight him on deporting people, or even the
marathon
57
man
murders.
again.
Hold
You're
on,
running
hold on.
from every single thing I'm saying.
Hold
You're
on,
not,
hold on.
You're not engaging
The
with a
reason,
single
no,
goddamn
I'm
point. You're a
engaging
marathon man.
directly with something that's antithetical to your point right now. So when we could do this by comparison and contrast the Obama administration with higher deportations,
We're not comparing.
Oh,
Nothing within
it is.
this. Nothing
It
within.
is.
Nothing within the
You
prompt
understand that
brings up
when-
Obama.
Do you understand that when Democrats are in power, the right
on.
doesn't fight deportations,
Hold on.
but when
We're not arguing whether it was worse
no,
off
hold
under
on,
Obama.
no, this is analogous.
We're
to
not
the
arguing
point.
whether it was worse off under Clinton.
No.
We're arguing.
Wait,
whether it
no,
was
that's
worse
what we're
off
arguing over.
under
You said
the
net
Trump
negative. Under
administration that is
Trump is a
currently
net
existing.
negative. That's arguing that whole point.
Well,
What are you
yes,
talking
but
about?
Marte, he could believe that Obama was also a net negative, though. So it wouldn't really like matter. He could also think
It
that
does
was a net
matter.
negative too.
The reason why it matters is because if we're going to be isolationists and talk about the Trump administration, it's a good model to compare this with something by saying it's not a net negative to something in comparison by demonstrating that this isn't a negative. There's worse off scenarios than this, and it's a positive. Like, you have to be able to compare. We can't have a binary debate and say we're only arguing Trump without comparing this to anything else. Therefore, you can't have a good without comparing it to a bad. That doesn't make any sense.
The good we would compare.
But I'm saying that if he
go
thought that both were bad, it wouldn't matter. And so that's the
Even if
the
he
reason
thought,
I'm saying
hold on,
it wouldn't.
even if he thought both were bad, I can demonstrate why it's good and why they're not refusing by offering a demonstration that if states don't want to cooperate, they were cooperating the whole time during all previous administrations, maybe not the Trump administration before, but now they're not cooperating because this is a left or right thing. It's not because ICE is just creating a political civil war. This is what the left does. The violent left. Yeah.
Thank you for the $30 grants. But just to be clear, okay, my argument here is that if you are saying, okay, that the left is doing it, the right is doing it, whoever's doing it, that under Trump, ICE and their behavior, whether you think their behavior is justified or not, doesn't matter. ICE, their behavior has led to people refusing to work with the federal government, and that's bad. Then you have to cede the prompt.
Can you demonstrate how
Then you have to
ICE?
cede the prompt.
Can
that
you?
ICE
No.
under Trump
No.
is a net negative for America.
Can
It
you
doesn't even have
demonstrate-
to be their fault.
Wait, can you demonstrate that this is causation by ICE and not the switching of political parties?
It doesn't have to be caused
hold on,
by ICE.
hold on, answer this question. Because when
the
ICE
prompt.
ramps
Do
up
you
their
concede
numbers,
that at least? Do you understand why it
Oh,
doesn't have to be caused by
Wick,
ICE?
Wick,
to
this
cede to the
doesn't make
prompt?
any sense
And to
because
be clear,
when
this
ICE,
is your argument, not mine.
hold on, no,
My
no,
argument
no,
is
no,
much
Wick,
more
Wick,
broad.
Wick, listen.
But
for
even
once.
under, I'm just demonstrating real
Can you
quick. Please
is the
shut up.
hoodie covering? a
Well, hold
video
on,
right
hold
now?
on,
Please
hold
shut
on,
up.
wait.
Please
Hold
shut
on, hold on. Wait, why doesn't it have to be caused by ICE? Why not?
So, as I understand it, the prompt is ICE under Trump is a net negative for America. Is that the prompt? Am I correctly identifying what we've agreed to talk about tonight?
Sure. Okay. So you're saying that it doesn't have to be that like they want to be a net negative or they're
Yes,
trying
or
to be a net negative, but that
it
is
could
just a
just
descriptive
be a
claim.
mistake.
They
Yes.
just happen to be a
Yes.
net negative, even if they're
Yes.
just screwing up. Okay.
Yes.
So then the Marte, then do you think that these are with that in mind, whether or not it's on purpose, do you agree that these are mistakes?
Look, there are mistakes that happen, but when you say net negative, we're talking about a totality argument here by saying overwhelmingly it's more bad than good. Would that be correct?
Yes, it's more bad than good.
Right. So this whole debate, I've been waiting for a demonstration because you've been defending that people should fight and lie to ICE, the whole time under this administration, which because the prompt says
Hold on. During
Trump,
this
under
conversation,
Trump,
when have I
hold on.
said that one?
I let you go. I let you talk, but you're being bad faith and interrupting me. I'm almost done real quick.
That's not
So
bad faith.
the whole prompt says under Trump, which symbolizes the fact that under this administration, there for some reason there's a difference. When I can present you examples when ICE has had a polarizing example of increased activity of deaths, of deportations, and they don't riot, they don't fight ICE. How odd is that? You have to be able to compare this to something instead of having an isolated binary argument and just saying just Trump. That's crazy. But you still have to demonstrate it's because of ICE.
Real quick, we're gonna go for about 5 more minutes. If you guys are able to on YouTube, if you go to fan funding in your chat, if you can just screenshot like super chats and send them to me, that would be helpful. And then again, guys, if you want to send super chats, also we started pretty late. Are you guys able
I can
to go over
until we're
bit?
done? Whatever you
Okay.
need.
And then, yeah, if people want to hop on and ask quick questions, you guys can jump in the waiting room in the Discord. The link to my Discord is in the description of my video, or you can put exclamation point Discord in the chat and that'll put it there as well. But okay, so Wick, on the totality of ICE
Are we giving closings
being
now, or
bad,
just
I
keep
was going
going?
to say that we'll go for another 5 minutes before that, and then we'll
And
get
then
to
closings.
closings.
So
But
this isn't closings. This is me just answering your question. Okay, fair enough. I just want to make sure.
yes, yeah. So on the
Okay, ask the question.
totality part, what is your? He's saying that he still hasn't heard something that says that there is more bad than there is good.
Right.
What is your best argument for there being more bad than good?
Sure. So my argument is that the degradation of our civil liberties through the abuses that ICE has done to the court system and to our civil rights, such as violating our First Amendment and Fourth Amendment, right? And as a matter of policy that they do this, to be clear, right? That this is worse, and any amount of deportations, 10 million, you can push a button and deport every single illegal immigrant that has ever been in America, and it would still not overcome the harm that is done to our republic through the degradation of our civil liberties that ICE has been doing, and the degradation of our courts that ICE has been doing. And the evidence I put forth is the memo. I think I sent you that in a link. The violation of court orders, the violence and brutality that ICE has engaged with, not only with immigrants, but also with citizens, that we could go through if we like. And DHS consistently lying not only to the public, but to the court, which degrades trust in our institutions. That, again, deport all the immigrants if you want, right? All the illegal immigrants that you want. It still would not make up the harm that is done from these incidents. That's my argument.
Okay, so Marte, if we assumed everything he's saying here is true, right? Let's just pretend for a moment. I know that you disagreed with it throughout, but if we pretended that everything he said here was true, all the examples that he gave are factual and you believe in them, would you say that that does qualify ICE as a net negative?
No, I don't believe it qualifies ICE as a net negative, but let me explain why. Let's say that there's like, could I even ballpark a figure with you that you would agree with, Wick? Let's say that there's 90 killings, right? Meaning, like in the
Hold on,
process of
can you? It's hard to hear you. Can you repeat that number, please?
You are going in and out a little bit.
let me try to fix this. So give me 1 second, real quick.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
try
hard
to
hear
reset
you,
it
right?
again real quick.
Okay, can you hear me? How am I sounding? Still low?
Yeah,
Keep
that's better.
talking.
I do have a follow-up question, so try to make it quick because I do have another
Okay,
question.
like even if we agree to a ballpark figure of like 70 or something, I'll be even charitable by saying this. During violent apprehensions that we've had, and we've taken people out and shot them in the order of doing our duties in apprehension, and 70 suspects and criminals died in the process of doing this. I would even say net negative. Trump arrested 400 to 600K in 1 year. Biden barely managed 1K. Now, when you say that the deportations don't matter, that's also an accumulation. We're talking about net. Net is an accumulation of all the duties and responsibilities that ICE is supposed to do. Now, when you throw this out, what you're doing is very sneaky by smuggling in. No, throw out the deportations. Okay, yeah, if you do by that metric, yeah, the argument would be more, the burden would be more on my side. And you'd be winning the argument. But unfortunately, what is the duty of ICE? To have deportations happen, to get illegal criminals off the street. In line of this duty, deaths are going to happen, especially with people resisting arrest. That's going to happen. But even then, you're talking about harm to people who are either resisting or not complying with law. That's going to happen when we're amping up more arrests. That means that this is going to continue, and I fully support it. I don't think it's a negative, and I don't see the demonstration provided in this as a whole.
Okay, so
said you had a
you said that
question
like
for
even
me?
if we said that it was something like 90 or something like that, right? So if we say the number is somewhere around 90, and you're comparing this to deportations and the good that we get from deportations, if it turned out that illegal immigrants kill 80 people per year, but in the process of deporting illegal immigrants, ICE happened to kill 90 citizens or immigrants in the process of deporting them, would you say that ICE in that case would be a net negative? Yes or no?
I would say that if they killed 90 people,
Or sorry.
trying-
That was for Marte, and then I'm gonna.
So
and then
I'll
I'm gonna
answer
ask you,
this.
sorry.
When you say 90, that's a really low number. When you talk about the criminals and doing all this, they actually do way more crime and do way more harm than just killing people. You're talking about like molestation of minors.
Sure, I'm giving you a hypothetical, and I'm asking you. Yes.
Well,
or
it's
no,
a it's a crazy hypothetical. The reason why I think the hypothetical is crazy is because when you say this, you're using a very small number for an exacerbated issue that's causing
No, I'm
more
giving.
problems.
Hold on, sorry. I'm just trying to understand where your line is. So I'm giving you a hypothetical to understand where your lines are, because
So you're looking for a
use
threshold.
deportations as like yes, because
You're looking for a
use
threshold
deportations
breaker.
as like a
Okay.
really great good that outweighs so many things, and so I'm wanting to understand in this specific case, would
In-
you consider that to be
in
a net
totality,
negative?
in totality, let's say that there's 90, right? Which is if we can reduce down to 90, it would be a dream. Let's say that it's 90.
So do you think we're
I
killing
think,
90
yeah, you can laugh all
civilians?
you want to, Wick. That's fine. I
Hold
didn't
on.
talk
Do you
during your
think
whole
that
statement.
that's happening?
So here's the
That
thing,
ICE
though.
is
Hold
killing-
on.
no, ICE isn't
Tom,
killing 90
can you mute
civilians
this guy?
now.
This guy fucking talks when I talk, but I don't talk when he talks. So listen, this
Sure.
is the thing that
If
I'm
you
gonna
get, I did want like a yes or no. The explanation is fine as well, but I am trying to get an answer on whether or not you think that that would be a net negative.
So let me go ahead and try to stillman what you just said, or you can repeat it because he interrupted me and I kind of say it again real quick. Can you be concise?
The question is, if I'm trying to get a yes or no to this. if there are 80 murders from illegal immigrants per year, and in 1 year, ICE happens to kill 90 people, citizens, immigrants, whatever, but they kill 90 people in the process of doing their jobs to deport these illegal immigrants, would you say that ICE in this case is a net negative? Yes or no?
No. And
No.
I can explain
Okay,
why.
so so what is the thing that is outweighing the proportionality of deaths being higher?
So when we look at who and why, I think that's extremely important for this stark example that we're going to bring up. So in light of the last 2 deaths that we've had that were non-illegal aliens, I think that the resistance and also the justification of these, because they were also let go and justified by use of force boards. When we say this, there also has to be a justification of this. So if you have people resisting arrest and these are violent criminals or even criminal illegals, I don't see how that's a negative if they were taking crime off our streets and then people who are also threatening officers' lives in the performance of their duties, like Renee hitting the person and causing brutal injuries to his side hitting with the car. I don't think that that's a bad thing because she asked for that. She literally asked for all this to happen. She didn't ask for this, but she wouldn't have been harmed if she didn't put herself present and resist directives. So that's going to happen when you resist law enforcement.
Okay, so Wick, same question. If there were 80 murders per year from illegal aliens and ICE officers happened to kill 90 people in the process of trying to deport these illegal aliens, do you think that by itself, discounting court orders, rights, all those other things, do you think that by itself would make this a net negative?
And to be clear, these would be unjustified killings, correct?
Let's say there's a mixture of like 80-20. 80 just,
80
20 unjust.
Okay, 80 just, 20 unjust. That in and of itself, I just need to know more information because the amount of people being killed does not suggest to me necessarily the policy being improper or the policy being unconstitutional. My negative here would be
well, that's why I said void, like,
Sure.
court orders being violated, rights
not
being
necessarily
violated, things like
is the
that,
answer.
because
Not necessarily. I'd have to know more, but not necessarily. Not just that. Just that would be insufficient.
Okay, so for you, the fact that they are trying to deport people, this is still a necessity to you.
Yeah, the deporting
these
people is
sorts
fine.
of
I
like
think
negatives.
I'm not against deporting illegal immigrants. No.
Okay, so Marte, actually, wait. So with that said, your main thing is rights violations, correct? Like rights violations, breaking the law, things like that.
Yeah, I don't think that deporting illegal immigrants in and of itself is a bad thing. In fact, it could be a good thing. I am for deporting violent illegal immigrants. I think that's a great thing. But the question is, how are we doing that? We can all acknowledge that we can do a good thing, but if we do it in a bad way, that the harm can outweigh of how we did it can outweigh what we actually did. And that's my entire argument, is that the harm of how ICE is operating is outweighing any good that they are doing.
Okay. And then, Marte, for you, earlier I asked if it was true that all of these people, that they had broken all these court orders, that ICE had broken all those court orders, if this would be enough for you to believe that this was a net negative, you still said no. So at what point would you feel as though there are enough, like, unjustly breaking court orders? We don't think that like judges are lying about this or anything, but that is true that they are actually breaking court orders. You still said that you don't think that this would be a net negative, or that ICE would be a net negative. So what would it take? Give me an example of something that you would say this is an example of this is an example of evidence that would show to me that ICE is a net negative.
I'll even use something that my opponent purportedly kind of brought up. He said that people are going into people's houses without warrants. That one good example, if he had like showed me evidence and said, okay, there's probably like 150 cases in doing this and it's ramping up. And let me show you this, how it's a pattern of this happening. And that's demonstrably true. then I'd say, oh shit, they're actually engaging in true lying and dishonest. But when you bring up things like a Twitter account and then semantics upon how it's perceived and there's arrest, that's crazy. It's not even lying. That's just perception, approach to determine your response. Just like
So
the tweet.
what if instead of the examples of that actually happening, instead he had an example of like Christine Nome sending out an email to everybody saying, "Hey guys, we're going to start serving search warrants and going into houses without judicial warrants." Would that by itself be enough of a systemic problem there?
Oh,
for
that's
you?
blatant. That's basically like,
Okay.
I mean, that's that's the smoking gun right there for sure. But when you show
Okay,
a
so Wick,
tweet
do
on
you have an
perception,
example of
I
something
sent you
of
it.
of this? You sent
It
something
is
to me.
the
Okay.
link right
Let me see.
after.
here we
Politico.
go. Start far stretching the limits of
Um,
credulity here,
From
Wick.
NBC News. ICE
Oh,
says
liberal
its
news.
officers
NBC
can
News.
forcibly
Okay, I see
enter
this.
homes during immigration operations without judicial warrants.
So you're going to use a biased left-wing news organization. Let's view it. Crazy work
Okay,
here,
so I'm
Wick.
gonna pull up a share screen again.
Please do. Can you zoom in?
This is
Zoom
it
in.
hasn't even loaded yet. It's still on.
Oh, I see it on my end.
It's still on Politico.
Hey Tom, I gotta piss. I'll be right back.
Okay, there we go.
Oh yeah, I'll
Okay,
look at this
just
real
don't
quick.
turn off your
Go ahead.
cam, please.
Yep.
Okay, it says ICE says its officers can forcibly enter homes during immigration operations without judicial warrants. 2025 memo. The policy was revealed in May 12th memo. Whistleblowers shared with U.S. Senator.
Can you send that to me? Through X?
Yes. Okay, sent. I'll read just a little bit of this real quick.
It's got to be from NBC, so it has to
internal
be true.
immigration. Well, we can try to see if there's like further evidence on this, or if there's something that you have that would go against this for sure. An internal immigration and customs enforcement document in May shows that ICE told officers and agents they can forcibly enter homes of people subject to deportation without warrants signed by judges. The memo dated May 12th, which reads that it is from ICE acting director Todd Lyons, was shared with Senator Richard Blumenthal, Democrat from Connecticut, by two whistleblowers. It says ICE agents are allowed to forcibly enter a person's home using an administrative warrant if a judge has issued a final order of removal. Administrative warrants permit officers and agents to make arrests and are different from judicial warrants, which judges or magistrates sign allowing entry into homes. Lyons notes in the document that detaining people in their residence based solely on an administrative warrant is a change from past procedure. Okay, so real quick, Wick, what is the difference between an administrative warrant and a judicial warrant? Because in this case, it is
Sure.
saying that the administrative warrant is still signed by a judge. So
No,
what
it
is
is not
if
signed
they're
by a
given
judge.
permission by a judge?
Just
Okay,
to be
go ahead.
clear, no, you're wrong. An administrative warrant is not signed by a judge. It is signed by could be anyone. It could be a fellow ICE agent, a fellow ICE officer. A judge does not sign those administrative warrants. A judicial warrant, and it's in the name, is signed by a judge.
Oh, sorry, it did say, I'm sorry, it does say, and are different from judicial warrants, which
Yes.
judges or magistrates sign.
And the judicial warrants,
allowing
they have
entry into homes.
you need
Okay.
probable cause to get one, right? And they sign off, you present your probable cause, you sign off, they sign off that there is probable cause and allows agents, whether they be police agents, ICE officers, whatever, to enter a private residence without the permission of that private resident owner, right? There's a process for this. They go through it. What ICE is doing here, which is a change from the normal procedure, is they're saying, we don't need a judge to sign it. We can simply sign it ourselves. And it bypasses that whole process that is meant to protect the citizen from improper searches, seizures, improper violations of your privacy, etc. It's a violation of the Fourth Amendment.
So these are like a last order of deportation. And then not to mention this, Tom, I've also debunked this. What is the matter of fact, can I get the date of the article? Let me look, because I'll get the date.
The article,
January
yeah,
21st,
the article.
2026.
It says 2025 memo, but then if you look
Yes,
at
it
the
was
link
done
I
in May.
sent,
They made it.
right, correct. But I just sent a link from DHI correcting that matter, and that's post February 4th. They actually responded to that, which debunks your whole fucking dumbass claim. Matter of fact, Tom, I sent it to you through X, and all this shit debunks everything that he just said. I gotta piss real quick while his
Okay, so
shit's
it
being
says
debunked.
DHS.
Send
Yeah,
it to
go
me.
ahead, go ahead.
DM it to me on Discord.
I will. Okay, so it just to be clear, this is something that is on the DHS website. So
Yeah.
this isn't
While he
posted by
brings up
somebody else. This is
NBC, I
He
posted-
bring
just
up
sent me what I
DHS.
sent you. Send me what he sent me.
Yeah, I'm gonna piss while his shit gets debunked right now. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm real scared to get the debunkings. Thank you.
Okay, let me share this screen again while I read this. Okay. So this one says, this is on, as I said, the Homeland Security website. It says DHS sets the record straight on administrative warrants and American public support of President Trump's deportation of illegal aliens. Washington Department of Homeland Security, DHS, is debunking several of the mainstream media's false narratives related to the use of administrative warrants to arrest illegal aliens, as well as the notion that most Americans do not support immigration enforcement. Administrative warrants matter for national security. In recent weeks, the media has falsely claimed that the use of administrative warrants by Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, to arrest illegal aliens with final order of removal at their homes is a violation of the Fourth Amendment. DHS General Counsel James Percival explained the constitutionality and legal precedent behind the use of such warrants to arrest illegal aliens in a recent op-ed for the Wall Street Journal. One, every illegal alien who DHS serves administrative warrants, known as I-205S, has had full due process and a final order of removal from an immigration judge. The officers issuing the administrative warrants also have found probable cause.
Can we stop right there?
Cooked.
Yeah, that seems to be where the
Yeah, you just got
Okay.
cooked, Wick.
It
Called
seems-
the fuck out. Anyways, let's move
So
on. with
let me
this.
hold on. Just a question. If the Supreme Court of the United States contradicts this, will you cede this debate?
This comes from the HSI
Okay.
directly.
Sure.
So
Who
even if we said the
Has
Supreme
more
Court,
authority
hold on,
to interpret the
hold
law.
on.
It's a simple
Fucking
question.
stupid, Wick.
Who
Your
has
whole
more
shit,
authority
just
to
throw
interpret
it
the
out,
law?
bro.
DHS or the Supreme Court of the United States?
Say it
Simple
again.
question. Who has more authority to interpret the law? DHS or the Supreme Court of the United States? Who has final authority?
The
If
Hold
DHS
on.
disagrees
Well,
with
now
the
we're
Supreme
getting
Court
into
of the
like
United States, who wins?
this isn't a yes or no. This is a semantics thing. I have to explain this.
It's a
Does the
simple. It's a binary choice.
No, it's not a binary because the Supreme Court leaves
No,
it
no,
up to the
hold on. I'm
states
gonna
for
ask
the
it again.
states to
If
decide
the Supreme
how to
Court
do
of the
this.
United States.
Well, wait, hold on. The problem is that number 2 says, for decades, the Supreme Court and Congress have recognized the propriety of administrative warrants in cases of immigration enforcement.
but
So
not in
this
cases
does
of
cite-
breaking into people's homes.
Exactly,
And I can
Wick.
cite the Supreme Court cases which show that you cannot break into people's homes without
Wait.
a judicial warrant, except for in a
No.
couple exceptions, none of which are covered by this.
This is covered. So you're saying that
You don't even know. You don't even
you're
know.
saying DHS
the
is lying about this on the article. Are they lying?
Yes, DHS.
Oh,
is
you're
lying.
saying can you Prove to me that they're
Yes,
lying.
I can prove that they're lying.
Demonstrate that they're lying on their damn site. Go ahead, Wick. I
Sure.
fucking love to see
So,
this shit.
Here, let me
Peyton
read the
versus
next
New
couple
York.
Your
lines real
evidence
quick.
just got
real
fucking
quick
cooked
before
right now. I
of the
before
love
United
hold on,
States.
wait. Before you do, hold on. Before you do, there's two more lines that I want to read real quick on this. So it says, under federal immigration law, officers may issue an administrative warrant, which means that the probable cause finding is made by an executive branch officer rather than a judicial officer. This is consistent with broad judicial recognition that illegal aliens aren't entitled to the same Fourth Amendment protections as U.S. citizens. It is also consistent with the Supreme Court's admonition that the touchstone of the Fourth Amendment is whether the search or seizure is reasonable, not whether it is supported by a judicial warrant. So, okay, wait, go ahead.
Thank
can I
you.
debunk
That's
this now
such a good
fairly
statement to
clearly
hear.
and prove that
Anyway,
DHS is lying? So, Supreme Court, 1980, Peyton versus New York. The court held that police must obtain a warrant to search a suspect's home to make a routine felony arrest absent consent or exigent circumstances. This established that warrantless, non-consensual entry into a home violates the Fourth Amendment. Stigall versus United States, 1981. Extending Peyton, the court ruled that a warrant is required to enter a third party's home to search for a suspect, even if there is an arrest warrant for the suspect. This debunks the DHS's claim that even though they have an order of removal, that they don't need a judicial warrant. They still do. Okay? This protects the privacy interests of non-suspects.
you've conceded this.
Welsh versus Wisconsin,
You've conceded
1984.
this.
The court emphasized that warrants are presumptively required for home entries, limiting exigent circumstances, exceptions to serious offenses, and rejecting them for minor ones, like non-jailable traffic violations and things like that. Johnson versus United States in 1948, an early foundational case stressing that warrants must be issued by a neutral and detached magistrate rather than law enforcement to prevent improper intrusions into homes.
Wick,
So the 1948 case debunks that ICE agent who has, again, they're not neutral, they're not detached.
Wick,
They
in this
can't
case,
issue these
are they
warrants.
talking about police or
So I
federal
gave you
agents?
four. I gave you four
No,
Supreme
no, hold
Court
on, hold on.
cases
I'm gonna
that
let's-
debunk what
No,
DHS
that's not
is
debunk. Hold
lying
on.
about there.
Let
And
me
the fact that
question
they have
your claims
lied
that you're
to
making
you
that are bullshit.
demonstrably that
Hold
I've shown
on.
you in 4K,
Talking over me doesn't
right?
help
That
in the
they are
debate.
lying.
Okay, yeah,
right,
Wick, let
is
him
further evidence
respond.
to my
Yeah,
overall
Wick's not
point.
letting. Wick is crazy. So here's the thing, though.
Well, it's
Yeah,
crazy.
right,
You keep
let
trying
him
to
The
respond.
interrupt
state
me
that
while
you
I'm
made,
talking.
the statement that you made.
Well, Wick,
in
hold
that
on,
case-
hold on, Marte. Hold on, Marte. Wick, wrap it up real quick. Land quickly, please, so he can respond.
That's the point. The fact that the DHS is lying about this is further evidence of my claim that they're eroding our civil liberties and looking to violate our civil rights. And
Okay,
these
Marte,
four
go ahead.
Supreme Court cases justify this.
Okay.
So in that case that you brought up, were they talking about
Which one?
police or federal agents?
Which
Hold on.
case? He
Which
he
case?
brought
The,
up four
the
different ones.
last one that you brought up and you cited the date. Remember, you had brought a date.
I cited the date for all of them. You talking about the 1948
The first one. Let's go with the first one.
Okay, Peyton versus New York, 1980.
Was that
What about it?
against police, local state police?
Yes.
Okay, then it doesn't apply. Throw the whole fucking shit out. Anyways,
Hold on. You
next
understand
to
how precedent
this,
works?
hold on. The whole shit's fucking moot. It doesn't make any sense because when we're talking about different authorities, we're talking about different jurisdiction. That doesn't even fucking apply. So you went on a whole fucking rant for no reason, Wick. Back to this. When it comes to federal authority, there's a difference in authority and jurisdiction that they have compared to regular state police. Now, federal authority can supersede state in all this. I understand that, but your case is only sided with local state police. That's it. This is asinine.
Okay. It says that an agent of the state, whether it be federal or whether it be local, needs a judicial warrant. Otherwise, right? Because the Fourth Amendment applies.
Oh,
to
you're
federal
not going with the
agents just
case.
as much
I
as they
asked for
do
the
to
case,
state
not the
agents.
amendment.
Would you accede to that?
When I asked for the case, I didn't
Oh,
talk
will
about
you
the
accede to
amendment.
that? When the
Now you're
Fourth
conflating
Amendment-
two things.
The
Hold
Fourth
on.
Amendment protects you
No, this
from
is very
unreasonable
dishonest of
search
you to
and
do
seizure
this.
and
I'm-
warrantless entry to a
Tom,
resident
I'm-
from both
Tom,
federal,
I'm asking him about the
state.
case, not the amendment. You see how he's conflating the two now?
Well,
in
the
that
case is about
case,
the amendment.
in that
It's not
case,
conflation.
nope. These two things can exist separately. In that case, it applied
they
to
do
state
not.
and local police. Now, the amendment, I'll agree with that, but in that case, it only applies to state police. Does
It
it
does
not?
not only apply
Wait,
to state
hold on.
police.
Wait, let me clarify, Marte. So he's saying that the case is talking about whether or not this law applies to the Fourth Amendment, correct?
Well, they can appeal to the Fourth Amendment to address state police in this case. Yes, I can agree to that, but overwhelmingly, this doesn't mean that they're talking about federal authority in that specific case.
So from my understanding, like the ARC case on the Fourth Amendment where they talk about what what is it, the jurisdiction thereof, and they talk about whether or not like immigrants have the same rights versus citizens versus people. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, so in this case, they're making a decision on like local schools and whether or not somebody will go to the local school. But that decision, based on how they interpreted the Fourth Amendment, then literally applied to everything that concerns the Fourth Amendment. Are you saying that there's a distinction here between like state and federal as far as the Fourth Amendment is interpreted, or
So, would a third party be a non-involved party?
It needs to be a third. Like in what context?
So here's the thing, though. If we're talking about this specific case involved, and I'm going to dial this down real quick. If we're talking about the specific case, and I understand that we can appeal to this amendment for that, but that case did not involve federal authorities and doesn't apply to federal authorities because they were not involved in this case. And it's kind of a moot point when you're saying, well, just because of an issue with state police and state authorities, that's who we were dealing with in this case. Now you're saying that it applies to federal authorities too.
Yes,
in
that's
that
how the law
specific
works.
case.
Okay, hold
That's
on,
crazy.
hold on.
If it-
Hold
they
on,
did-
hold
if
on,
You
you-
see how
hold on.
confusing this
Wait.
is when you
Go
try to conflate
Your
the
hold
two?
on, wait, hold on. So Wick, your claim is that this is a decision
This
that is
case
setting
applies to
precedent for
the
the
government.
Fourth Amendment, correct?
The government's
You're saying this
relationship
is a
to the Fourth Amendment. Yes.
okay, so it is about the Fourth Amendment. Okay, so
Yes.
he's just saying that this sets precedent for the Fourth Amendment. So this would
Mhm.
literally apply to anybody. It's not about the decision itself. It's about the
military, it
precedent
applies
that it
to
sets as far
all.
as how we. It's just about how we interpret the Fourth Amendment and how these things apply as far as citizens' rights, not
Yeah.
like whose
Yes.
jurisdiction it is, but
It
as
is-
far as
it is
what
in this
our
case,
rights are
And it
as
is
citizens.
this. Yes. Just let me explain for a moment. It is what the catalyst for this case was local police, state police, I believe. However, right, the catalyst or what they were actually asking was, again, what conditions are sufficient to satisfy the Fourth Amendment's requirements? And it established that you need, again, absent exigent circumstances, that if you don't have a warrant and it's non-consensual, then it violates the Fourth Amendment.
So hold
a
on.
judicial warrant, to be clear.
So Tom, you notice how he said citizens' rights? Are these citizens that ICE is really mainly dealing with?
Well, that's why we're talking. That's why I brought up the art case as well, is because
Right.
that's not why, but
That's
the
why I brought
art
that
case does say that the citizens and immigrants have the same rights. That like it uses the term people in the Fourth Amendment, and
Yeah.
so it's in the ARC case specifically says that this immigrant child doesn't lose any rights as far as the Constitution
No,
goes,
well,
to be clear,
because the Constitution says
Due
people,
process for
not citizens.
non-citizens is
House,
different
a
from
housekeeping
citizens.
issue right here.
Due
I have
process
Well,
is
about a
different.
15-minute
wait,
card
hold
left.
on, wait. Just
Go ahead.
before you, I go ahead. Wait.
Yeah, I have
quickly,
15 minutes left, is what I'm saying, and then I
Okay.
have to go.
Okay, so I'll just respond to what it was you were saying, Marte, just as far as that goes. Fuck, I totally just lost what your
Oh, I thought
what
I
your last
lost
statement
internet. I
was.
was like, did
Shit.
you guys
No, my
disconnect?
bad.
Okay.
Do you remember what your last statement was, Marte?
Yeah, so he said citizens last time. So I want to ask a question to Wick here, if he can be.
Well, wait, we gotta
Sure,
we
sure.
gotta wrap it up. I did just want to
All right, I'll
answer
wrap
your
it up.
question.
Are
But
we doing closing statements? Or?
well, yes, we're gonna do closing statements real quick. We got somebody in the waiting room, and then I'll read questions as quickly as possible. So, we had Wick go first last time, and Marte, you went second. So this time we will have Marte go first and Wick.
Wait, there was a last time that me and Wick debated with you. I
He's
think this
talking
is
about
first.
the
No, for
opening statement
intros.
versus the closing statement.
Yeah,
Oh,
for
you're talking
intros,
about
we want to
this.
flip them around for how they went. Yeah, so go ahead. 4 minutes at max. Try to do them quickly, and then we'll get to questions. Go ahead, Martin.
So here's the thing about my opponent, Wick. He agrees with me, but he also disagrees with me, which is counterproductive and counter to his argument. When I say that Trump has basically had a blistering 393,000 deportations within his second terms, his first year alone, then my opponent says, well, that's not what we're talking about here. That doesn't matter. That's not tangential. Yeah, I support it. But then all of a sudden says that no, it's an overwhelming net negative. Well, hold on. If he's setting record levels of successes and also criminal, I would say, arrests during this time, we can say that that's a success. I was looking for a net negative in this whole argument. Haven't heard a demonstration of this. He cited several incidents where I can point out bad apples and things, even if I concede this. And even if we can concede the whole thing with the Trent Agua gang, whatever that thing that was happening, I'm not going to dive into that. But it's like, even if I do concede all this, but the success level of the arrest and the direct, I would say the targeted arrest are more successful. And there's 60 deaths. They would be deaths of people who either violently assaulted law enforcement or resisted arrest or illegal aliens. I don't see how that's even a net negative if we're eliminating crime and scum off the streets. And also, these shootings were justified by a use of force committee and use of force boards and also cleared. Yeah, sure, the optics nightmare may be a bad thing for the public headline test. But here's the thing, though. He doesn't want me to bring up the fact that this administration with ICE was more successful in doing targeted arrest and criminal arrest and deportations than previous administrations where Obama was separating families and leaving kids there alone, and their detention centers were worse, almost like animal shelters compared to Trump's. We can overwhelmingly see videos of the kids being held in basically what looks like safe havens with basketball hoops and all this. They look like daycare centers compared to Obama's and everything else above that. He doesn't want me to talk about this because you have to compare something to something else in order to say it's bad. Bad compared to what? This isn't a binary argument. This is an argument that I can demonstrate that Trump is an overall good. He's literally conceded the whole prompt and said, yeah, it's good. I support deportations. Why is ICE here? Oh, deportations, the massive thing. The fact that these deaths have happened in the line of duty, we can look at these. There are people that have arrested. Renee Good hit the officer. These other illegals, some of them were basically PDF files that people have stopped becoming like from hampering these arrests. The fact that the liberal left is defending the arrest of PDF files is bad in itself, and traveling all the way from Missouri to do this. Yeah, you've had an 8-hour drive to think about whether or not you should refuse to do this or waste your time, but you're literally engaging in hampering the arrest of criminals and detaining from getting off the streets who are violating the 13-year-olds in our states and committing crimes and all this. It's just egregious, the fact that he's defending literally PDF files from being taken off the street and saying that F ICE. Yeah, cool. If we do this and NIS takes their place, guess what's going to happen? Because Trump's the administration, he has a beef with Trump and not the hand that's taking out these deportations. That's literally what his whole argument is. Fight ICE, fight them, arrest them. I'll sit in the comfort of my own home and tell you to fight them, but I won't do it myself. This is just the diary of a madman that we've heard in this whole debate. Somebody who won't have the guts to even fight them himself. He'll stay in the comfort of his own home, tell other people to die on his behalf by resisting arrest and fighting law enforcement. But this is what you have on his end. There hasn't been an argument I've heard that was a net negative in ICE's behalf. Still waiting for this. And even the evidence that he brings up has been debunked by DIH's site specifically. And it's like we move forward and it's like I haven't heard a compelling argument. I'll end it there.
All right. Thank you, Marte. Wick.
So I think that I've made a compelling case that ICE is consistently violating not only immigrants' rights, but citizens' rights, violating the First Amendment of the Constitution, violating the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution, not just a few bad apples, but by policy, by by design. In the Trump administration and their policies and how ICE is acting is destroying our civil rights and civil liberties. I've given several examples. We've shown several examples on screen. We went through piece by piece, line by line, showing that DHS has lied. They lied about the Preddy shooting. They lied about the Good shooting. They lied in that debunking that happened. It was, again, contrary to the Supreme Court precedent. And we have shown that, and I trust that the audience can see that. I also trust that the audience can see that Marathon Marte has run from every single point I have made. He has refused to engage in a single thing that I have said, instead using deflection, dodging, not bringing up any single points, refusing to understand that while you can do a good thing by deporting people, if in the process of doing that good thing, you are destroying much more, that it makes the outcome net negative. And that is my argument. Thank you for having me, Tom. Thank you for being here, Marte. I do appreciate it. But at the end of the day, fuck ICE.
All right. Appreciate it, guys. And thanks for coming on and doing the debate. Hope you guys were okay with the moderation. I am a bit more active in my moderation, especially later in the debates to try to
Your house.
get
your rules.
questions answered. So